Chapter 949. The fusion was successful. Ye Fei, how dare you? If I die, you won't live either. The White Fiend was a martial sage in the 4th level of the heaven-piercing realm after all. Even though his flesh and blood were flying everywhere, the White Fiend did not retreat at all. Instead, he continued to charge at Ye Fei. Boom! In the sky, the 4 tribulation clouds also merged successfully when the White Fiend rushed to Ye Fei's side. Between heaven and earth, only 4 terrifying lightning bolts as thick as buckets could be seen. They tore apart the sky, destroyed the void, and fell mercilessly toward Ye Fei and the White Fiend. Ye Fei's face turned pale. The White Fiend is really crazy. The White Fiend laughed. I am crazy. I want to drag you down with me. Alas! With a sigh, Ye Fei shook his head. If the White Fiend had not been injured by the explosion of the Phoenix blood sword, he might have succeeded. Now, the White Fiend was injured by the explosion of the Phoenix blood sword. At the same time, he appeared above Ye Fei's head. Ye Fei was not frightened by the White Fiend's madness. His eyes were burning with hope. The Halran Gaia sword. Whether we can succeed or not depends on this. With the last primordial spirit, Ye Fei made the last strike. But strangely, Ye Fei did not attack the White Fiend and the tribulation clouds. Instead, he slashed at the ground, instantly creating a huge hole that was hundreds of meters deep. Boom! The fused tribulation clouds completely locked onto Ye Fei and the White Fiend, making it impossible for them to escape. What? Ye Fei and the White Fiend spat out a large amount of blood at the same time. However, the White Fiend fell rapidly from the sky, while Ye Fei was lying on the ground. He was like a nimble gecko, jumping down along the crack and quickly distancing himself from the White Fiend. Ye Fei, you! The White Fiend watched as Ye Fei hid underground. He was so angry that even his eyes, mouth, and nose spewed out scarlet blood. He no longer chased after Ye Fei. Instead, he raised his head and watched in despair as a pillar of lightning instantly swallowed him up, leaving nothing behind. Under the heavenly tribulation, a martial saint at the 4th level of the heavenly connection realm was mercilessly killed. However, the aftershocks of the heavenly tribulation did not pass. Instead, they continued to descend, causing an enormous explosion that shook the earth and shook the heavens. With the heavenly tribulation as the center, a crater hundreds of meters deep was blasted into the ground. Ye Fei, who had been hiding underground, was also blown out. Even though Ye Fei had activated his purple gold Tai Chi, it was useless. His flesh and blood were still flying everywhere from the explosion. He was instantly blasted into charcoal and fell to the ground. His consciousness became blurry. At this moment, any lightning bolt as thick as a chopstick was enough to instantly kill Ye Fei. Am I going to die? This path is really hopeless. Ye Fei laughed bitterly in his heart. His consciousness gradually became blurry. In his blurry state, he did not realize that an invisible light had suddenly rushed out from his dantian. That was the light of the undying sword soul. Without Ye Fei's knowledge, the undying sword soul had already absorbed most of the power of the heavenly tribulation that had entered Ye Fei's body. It even burped, which was a rare sight. Then, it once again fell silent in Ye Fei's dantian. Bang! Ye Fei's charred body fell heavily to the ground. The tribulation clouds in the sky also slowly disappeared, leaving behind an apocalyptic scene. The heavenly tribulation has ended? Oh no, Big Brother won't die like this, right? Xia Jun and the dragon turtle did not go far. They stayed outside the heavenly tribulation and observed the changes in it. However, even outside, Xia Jun could clearly feel the terror of the heavenly tribulation. If it were him, he would probably have been annihilated by one strike of the heavenly tribulation. However, Ye Fei endured a total of 7 strikes of the heavenly tribulation. The 2 heavenly Grandmaster sages, Black Demon and White Demon, were even struck to death by the heavenly tribulation. How could Xia Jun not be worried? Lord! The moment the heavenly tribulation disappeared, the dragon turtle rushed over as fast as it could. The dragon turtle was not too worried about Yi Fei's life. What it was really worried about was that Xiao Qiao, who was in the beast mark space, did not meet with any accidents. At this moment, Yi Fei was completely unconscious. His entire body was charred black. Only the beast mark on his shoulder was still intact. It was not affected by the heavenly tribulation at all. In his deep sleep, Xiao Qiao seemed to be able to sense the danger outside. The beast mark space emitted a strong medicinal fragrance from time to time, nourishing Yi Fei's body. Relying on this medicinal fragrance, Yi Fei's charred body miraculously maintained a trace of vitality. What frightened the dragon turtle the most was that Yi Fei's body was clearly emitting the aura of the heavenly tribulation. The dragon turtle did not dare to go near him. Big Brother is still alive. That's great. Big Brother is not dead. Dragon turtle, take Big Brother. Let's go. Xia Jun was not one of the vicious beasts, but he did not have the sharp intuition of the vicious beast. Seeing that Yi Fei was fine, Xia Jun carried Yi Fei, sat on the dragon turtle's back, and ran. The dragon turtle was also very obedient. Firstly, it had gone through thick and thin with Yi Fei. Secondly, the aura of the heavenly tribulation that Yi Fei's body was faintly emitting made the dragon turtle very wary and suspicious. The heavenly tribulation represented the heavenly Tao. No life form could control the heavenly tribulation. However, Yi Fei's body emitted the aura of the heavenly tribulation. It had to be said that this was a very strange thing. In a daze, Yi Fei did not know how long he had been unconscious. In the time that he was unconscious, Yi Fei seemed to have arrived in a strange space. In this space, Yi Fei actually saw two of himself. One of them was purple, and the other was golden. The purple Yi Fei wielded an imperial sacred sword and constantly tried to kill the golden Yi Fei. However, the golden Yi Fei's body was extremely strong. He roared angrily, and every punch he threw was as dazzling as the golden sun. They shattered the boundless sword light again and again. Just as the battle between the two figures reached its climax, Yi Fei was shocked to see another blurry figure appear in this space. This figure possessed boundless destructive power. It transformed into two dark golden pillars of light. That blurry figure was extremely terrifying. Even if the purple Yi Fei and the golden Yi Fei joined forces, they were still unable to block the blurry figure's attack. Roar! Finally, the golden Yi Fei roared angrily. He suddenly transformed into a stream of light and voluntarily fused into the purple Yi Fei's body. The purple Yi Fei also roared. His body suddenly burned with purple-gold flames. He charged forward and shattered the blurry figure. Sigh! In the depths of his heart, Yi Fei clearly heard a sigh. Then, he woke up with a head full of cold sweat. Was that a nightmare? Strange my body. Yi Fei woke up with a start. The first thing he did was to check his body. He was shocked to discover that his body, which had been severely injured by the heavenly tribulation, had not only completely recovered. Even the power of Azura and the power of the war demon had completed a second fusion without him knowing. This also meant that Yi Fei had officially stepped onto the path of despair. There was no turning back in the future. That's not right. My primordial spirits. Why are two of my primordial spirits missing? After checking his body, Yi Fei was shocked to discover that his original 12 primordial spirits had been reduced to 10. Chapter 950. In the capital. Big Brother, you are finally awake. Xia Jun had just returned from hunting and walked into the cave. Yi Fei was surprised. Earth penetrating level 5. How long have I been unconscious? Not long. Just 3 months, Xia Jun said. 3 months? Yi Fei was shocked. Then, he knew how scary the Heavens test was and how lucky he was to survive the Heavens test. After chatting with Xia Jun, Yi Fei found out that after he had fainted, Xia Jun had brought him to a mountain range of vicious beasts. With the dragon turtle around, they had easily occupied a nice mountain forest. As Yi Fei hadn't woken up, Xia Jun didn't dare to enter the capital directly. So, he decided to cultivate there while waiting for Yi Fei to wake up. That was also the reason why Yi Fei realized that Xia Jun's power had increased to earth-penetrating level 5 when he woke up. After all, he had been unconscious for 3 months. With the accumulation of a large amount of spiritual stones and monster souls, it was hard for Xia Jun not to increase his realm. We have been here for so long. I wonder if the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking has started. Oh yeah, how far is it from the capital? Yi Fei asked. Big brother, don't worry. The Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking will only start in 4 months. If we rush to the capital of Snow Wind Empire from here, it will take at most 2 months, Xia Jun said. Only then did Yi Fei feel much more at ease. As the two of them were talking, the dragon turtle heard the commotion and walked in. Seeing that Yi Fei had woken up, the dragon turtle was very happy. Yi Fei was also very happy. For the dragon turtle to not betray him in such a situation, it could be said that he had won his trust. Yi Fei said to the dragon turtle, Dragon turtle, if you want to enter the beast mark space, tell me at any time. Lord. Hearing that, the dragon turtle was so happy that it let out a strange dragon roar. Yi Fei then noticed that the dragon turtle's roar wasn't right. After Xia Jun's explanation, Yi Fei then understood that the dragon turtle had merged with Baxia's bloodline. Baxia was a very powerful dragon species. Yi Fei's eyes lit up. Xia Jun, attack me with all your strength. After resting for a few days, Yi Fei couldn't find the reason for the disappearance of the other 2 primordial spirits. But he felt that his power didn't decrease. Big brother, you have to be careful. Xia Jun was no longer the same as before. Not only had he comprehended the heavenly blade art, but he had also broken through to earth-penetrating level 5. If it weren't for the fact that Xia Jun wanted to experience more of the earth-penetrating level 5, with the large number of spirit stones and Yao souls in his possession, Xia Jun could have easily reached earth-penetrating level 10. Heavenly Saber Art. Blade light flashed. Xia Jun became one with his blade and turned into a heavenly blade. He slashed forward. The terrifying blade light shook the mountain range under their feet, startling countless wild birds. Yi Fei nodded inwardly when he saw this. He knew that Xia Jun had not wasted the past 3 months. Instead, he had focused on cultivating. Otherwise, his saber Dao would not have improved so much. But whoosh! Facing this blade light, Yi Fei didn't even look at it. Purple and gold light suddenly appeared in his palm as he grabbed forward with all his might. Boom! The saber beam that came slashing down was actually shattered by the claw, turning into streams of light that filled the sky. Xia Jun even forgot to dispel one with the saber. He just stayed in the sky in a daze. How is this possible? What kind of power is that? Why do I feel like my saber beam has disappeared? It didn't disappear. It cancelled it out. Tai Chi has always had the magical effect of using 4 tails to defeat 1,000 caddies. After fusing with the second despair force, not only does the purple gold Tai Chi have the power to defend, but it also seems to be able to perform the special Tai Chi cloud hand. Yi Fei pondered silently. When he realized that Xia Jun's attack was ineffective, Yi Fei immediately turned to look at the dragon turtle. Dragon turtle, use all your strength to crash into me. Boom! The dragon turtle didn't say anything. Its body became bigger than the mountain under its feet. It roared angrily and its huge body came crashing down on Yi Fei. Yi Fei didn't panic. He first closed his eyes and recalled the Tai Chi cloud hand that he had learned in his previous life. Then, he slowly raised his hand and made a standard Tai Chi starting gesture. Just when Xia Jun felt that Yi Fei was like an old grandpa slacking on his work, Yi Fei suddenly drew a Tai Chi circle with his hands slowly. Then, he fiercely pushed it forward. Bang! The dragon turtle's huge body was actually pushed into the sky by the seemingly slow Tai Chi cloud hand. This scene was even more terrifying than when little Fatty sent a martial sage flying with a slap. The dragon turtle was dumbfounded. It couldn't understand how Yi Fei's Tai Chi cloud hand, which was as slow as a snail, could have such terrifying strength. It should be known that after the dragon turtle expanded, it would weigh at least 100,000 jin. With such a weight, even a martial sage would be crushed to death. Yet Yi Fei had pushed the dragon turtle away with just a Tai Chi cloud hand. Bang! The dragon turtle's body was pushed a few thousand meters away. It smashed a huge hole in a mountain before it finally came to a stop. Abnormal. This is too abnormal. Xia Jun's mouth was agape. Then, he asked doubtfully, "Big brother, where did you get this martial art from? Why haven't I seen you use it before?" "Nonsense. I just figured out the Tai Chi cloud hand." "Of course you haven't seen it before." Yi Fei rolled his eyes. Xia Jun was also dumbfounded. Could this be the legendary self-created martial art? The most terrifying thing was that Yi Fei's self-created Tai Chi cloud hand made Xia Jun feel that it was even more powerful than the heavenly saber art that he had learned. Sigh. I didn't expect Big Brother to not only have a hardcore taste, but also to be abnormal to the point of creating his own martial art. Xia Jun immediately felt immense pressure. To create one's own martial art, one had to be at the level of the heavenly Grandmaster Supreme Sage. At this level, one had already come into contact with the Tao of heaven and earth. The martial art created would be very powerful. Below the level of the heavenly Grandmaster Supreme Sage, there were very few self-created martial arts, and their power was usually very weak. Reaching the level of a black-level martial art was already the limit. For someone like Yi Fei, who was not a martial sage, to be able to create a classic martial art that surpassed the heavenly saber art, there had never been anyone like him in the entire Tianwu continent. It seems that the power of despair did not disappoint me. Yi Fei was very satisfied with the effects of the Tai Chi cloud hand. All that was left was to continue familiarizing himself with it and perfecting it. With the death of the Bailey twin demons in battle, the Bailey clan would not be able to find him in a short period of time. During the time that they were rushing to the imperial capital, Yi Fei continued to spar with Xia Jun and the dragon turtle. 2 months later, a glorious imperial capital appeared before Yi Fei's eyes. At a glance, the entire imperial capital was as big as 100 Beast King's city. The most shocking thing was the shape of the imperial capital. It was in the shape of a prostrating divine dragon. At the same time, under the divine dragon's body was a huge dragon vein. The entire sky above the imperial capital was filled with a terrifying dragon chi and a noble aura. As expected of the imperial capital of the middle ground, it actually condensed a dragon vein that is 100,000 miles long to suppress the fate energy. The capital of the North region can't compare at all. Chapter 951. Beggar. The capital city is indeed the capital city. Just the entrance fee is 1,000 upper-grade spiritual stones. It's not a normal scam. The capital city of Snow Wind Empire was rich in dragon energy, and it could increase the cultivation of warriors. Hence, the entrance fee was very expensive. At least Yi Fei was unhappy. After entering the city, Yi Fei planned to find an inn to stay for the time being. There were about 2 months to the start of the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. During this period of time, Xia Jun could make a few more breakthroughs in his realm. Then, the chances of him joining the Saint Academy would increase greatly. Yi Fei could also continue to study the power of despair and perfect the purple gold Tai Chi and Tai Chi cloud hand. You lie in. This inn wasn't considered luxurious in the imperial capital, but when they went in and asked, Yi Fei and Xia Jun were both shocked. It was said that the cost of living in the imperial capital was high, but the happy arrival in was ridiculously expensive. Xia Jun roared at the waiter, "Are you kidding me? An ordinary room costs 1,000 upper-grade spiritual stones a day. How many spiritual stones would it cost for 2 months? This is obviously a scam." Scam? The warriors in and out of the inn were stunned when they heard that. Then, they laughed out loud. Where did these bumpkins come from? They can't afford to stay in an inn, and yet they are making a ruckus here. What do they think the capital city is? The waiter smiled apologetically and explained patiently, "Dear guests, our price is already very fair. Every inn in the capital city is built on the node of dragon energy. The spiritual energy is comparable to the spiritual pool that many big families keep. Hence, the price of the rooms is naturally more expensive." Yi Fei sensed for a while and realized that the dragon energy in the inn was much richer than outside. He then nodded in relief and said to Xia Jun, "Forget it. It's fine if it's expensive. Give us 2 rooms and prepare some food and wine." Yi Fei and Xia Jun had been traveling for a long time. Since they were in the capital city, they naturally had to have a good meal. When the warriors in the inn saw that Xia Jun had stopped making trouble, they no longer paid attention to them and continued to chat about their own topic. "Have you heard? It's said that something big happened in the Beast King city. A giant ape emitted demonic chi and scared the Beast King out of the city. That's not the most unlucky thing for the Beast King. It's said that when the Beast King escaped, he happened to run into Bai Zhen." Bai Zhen? Yi Fei and the other warriors were shocked. Many of them couldn't help but exclaim, "Did Bai Li really challenge the Beast King? Who won?" Bai Zhen didn't win, and the Beast King didn't lose either. I heard that they were all chased away by that giant ape. As the Snow Wind Empire's strongest imperial capital, the news here was still very fast. Yi Fei's expression also became strange. He didn't expect little Fatty to be so strong. Not only did he chase away the Beast King, he even chased away Bai Zhen. Of course, that's because of the demonic chi in Little Fatty's body. Once his demonic chi is exhausted, Little Fatty won't have such exaggerated battle strength. No wonder only the black-white double demons came to kill me. I didn't expect Bai Zhen to encounter the Beast King and Little Fatty. As the saying goes, father and son go into battle. Although Little Fatty was a little dissatisfied with the Beast King, he would definitely help his father when he saw his father being challenged. Bai Zhen being chased away was also within Yi Fei's expectations. Xia Jun's expression was a little serious. He whispered to Yi Fei, "Big brother, since Bai Zhen ran away, he will definitely come to the imperial capital. It seems like we have to be careful and hide." "It's fine. No matter how strong Bai Zhen is, he won't dare to act recklessly in the imperial capital. Moreover, if he dares to come, I'll settle the score with him," Yi Fei said indifferently. He didn't forget the sorry state he was in when he was chased by Bai Zhen. In the past, he didn't have any power. Now that his God of War path had reached the 5th level, he had the power to fight with a special bloodline. At this time, even if Bai Zhen didn't look for Yi Fei would look for Bai Zhen to get back at him. At the same time, he would find out the real reason why Bai Zhen had captured Xiao Qiao. Hence, Yi Fei and Xia Jun stayed in the inn. As they drank, they listened to the conversations of the surrounding warriors. Needless to say, the inn was indeed a good place to gather information. In no time, Yi Fei collected a lot of useful information. For example, the current emperor of Snow Wind Empire was called Jiang Qianren, and he was a half-royal expert. This time around, Jiang Qianren, a half-royal, would be the one to conduct the assessment for the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. At the same time, only warriors who passed Jiang Qianren's assessment would have the opportunity to represent Snow Wind Empire and participate in the Heaven List Supreme ranking battle. Of course, the quota was very small. There were only 1,000 spots. Of course, even if one passed the half-royal assessment, there was still the most crucial heaven list supreme ranking battle. It was jointly hosted by the Saint Court in Central State. Only those who performed well in the supreme ranking battle would have the right to join the Saint Court. Get lost. It's you again, beggar. Who allowed you to come to our inn to beg for food? If you know what's good for you, get lost quickly. Don't affect our business. Just as Yi Fei and Xia Jun were listening with great interest, another beggar in ragged clothes walked in from outside the inn. This beggar was very strange. He didn't ask for anything. Instead, he sat down in an inconspicuous corner at the entrance of the inn and started to cultivate with his eyes closed. This was too common in the capital city. There were hundreds of thousands of miles of dragon veins in the capital city. The inns in the capital city were all built on the nodes of the dragon veins. The dragon chi was very rich. Therefore, many destitute warriors who couldn't afford to stay in the inns would think of ways to get close to the inns and use the dragon chi to cultivate. The guests were already used to this. Many of them felt pity for the beggar and scolded the waiter. "What's wrong with you? Who doesn't have a difficult time when they're outside? He didn't even enter the door. He's just leaning against the wall. You're too much of a bully to drive him away." Hey guests, you don't know. If it was an ordinary beggar, we would have tolerated it. But this person is different. He offended the 9th prince. The 9th prince ordered him to be a beggar in the capital city for the rest of his life. No one is allowed to take him in. If we let him lean outside and the 9th prince's people see him, our inn can forget about continuing to operate. The appearance of the beggar alarmed the innkeeper of the inn. The innkeeper was a middle-aged man in the 10th layer of Wu Jun. His face was filled with kindness. First, he bowed to the crowd and explained. When the guests heard that this matter was related to the 9th prince, many warriors who sympathized with the beggar shut up. After all, this was the capital city, under the foot of the half-emperor. The 9th prince was not an ordinary prince. Before Bai Li Zhen rose, the 9th prince, Jiang Yuming, was one of the top masters in the capital city. With such a background and strength, how could an ordinary warrior offend him? Go, go, go. Brother, I beg you. Don't come to our inn in the future. Here, take these pieces of pig meat as an apology. The innkeeper walked to the beggar and threw a few pieces of jerky. He wanted to drive the cultivating beggar away, but the beggar was very arrogant. Being driven away, he stood up and threw the jerky back, saying, "Who wants your charity? I just came here to rest. I'm leaving now." Chapter 952. Yesterday's supreme talent similar. They were too similar. Yi Fei wasn't sure when he heard the voice. However, when he saw the back view that was still tall and proud despite being poor, Yi Fei immediately recalled the time when he had participated in the Earth Board assessment in Beiyang country back in the North region. Back then, there was also a back view that was as tall as a mountain that blocked him and all the other warriors in Beiyang country from passing the Earth Board assessment. When Yi Fei saw the back view, he was depressed. To him back then, the back view was too arrogant and too powerful. It was the same heaven and earth supreme ranking list and the same proud back view. However, at that moment, Yi Fei didn't feel oppressed. Instead, he was filled with loneliness and desolation behind loneliness. Lin Tianjiao. Yi Fei couldn't believe it. It was hard for him to connect the supreme talent of yesterday with the beggar of today. Hong. When the beggar heard Yi Fei's voice, he was shocked. He turned around in disbelief and looked at Yi Fei in shock. Yi Fei. Lin Tianjiao was too surprised. He didn't expect to meet Yi Fei in Snow Wind Empire. What made Lin Tianjiao feel the most uncomfortable was that Yi Fei's aura was so strong that he had to look up to him. What about him? He was once the number 2 supreme talent in the North region. When he entered Zhongzhou, he became a beggar. Most importantly, he was seen by Yi Fei. You've got the wrong person. I'm not Lin Tianjiao. Lin Tianjiao was ashamed. At that moment, he was too ashamed to talk to Yi Fei. Being a beggar wasn't scary. The scariest thing was that his former opponents saw him as a beggar. With Lin Tianjiao's pride, how could he endure it? He lowered his head and walked away hurriedly. He was so absent-minded that he didn't even realize that he had bumped into someone. The warrior who was bumped into was furious and he shouted, "What an impudent beggar! You even dared to bump into me. Do you know who I am? What's my status?" Lin Tianjiao didn't say anything. He lowered his head and hurried away, trying to escape from Yi Fei's sight. "Stinky beggar, you want to leave after bumping into me? Do you think my saber is not sharp enough?" The cultivator pulled out his saber on the spot. Although it was forbidden to use force in the imperial capital, it shouldn't be a problem to scare a beggar. Boom! However, the beggar wasn't frightened. He stared coldly at the warrior and said, "Put away your blade and scram. Who are you? I'm here to deal with this beggar. It's none of your business." That martial artist was still unconvinced. Yi Fei was too lazy to say anything more. Xia Jun walked over and threw out a demon soul. "My big brother told you to scram. Why aren't you scramming? Take this demon soul as a reward for you. Hurry up and scram to the side. Don't be an eyesore to my big brother." "What? Demon soul?" That cultivator still wanted to curse, but when he saw what Xia Jun threw over, his anger immediately turned into a thick sense of surprise and flattery. "Seniors, this lowly one will listen to you. This lowly one will scram far away." As he spoke, the martial artist rushed into the inn like a gust of wind, returning to his room with a bang. The other martial artists in the inn were all envious. Just by bumping into a beggar, he was able to obtain a monster soul. This fellow was really lucky. One had to know that a demon soul was equivalent to a sacred bone. "Lin Tianjiao, come with me. I have something to ask you." With Yi Fei's speed, how could Lin Tianjiao escape? He immediately pulled Lin Tianjiao and walked into the inn. "Sir, you can't." He offended the 9th prince. The innkeeper hurriedly came out to stop them and threw something at his face. "The 9th prince is nothing. Take this demon soul as a reward from my big brother." In the beast hall, Yi Fei had caught 10,000 demon souls in one go. He had also given Xia Jun 1,000. Xia Jun was very rich at this time. When the innkeeper saw that it was a demon soul, he didn't stop them. He had been stuck at Wu Jun's 10th stage for decades. With this demon soul, he could forcefully comprehend the power of heaven and earth and step into the realm of the absolute Earth Almighty. Not only could he raise his cultivation level, but he could also extend his lifespan. Who cared about the 9th prince now? He could go to hell. Please take a seat upstairs. Waiter, serve tea. Quick, serve the best tea for this guest." The innkeeper fawned over Lin Tianjiao again. Lin Tianjiao was speechless. But when he looked at Yi Fei, there was a trace of shock in his eyes. There was also a complicated look. "Yi Fei, you pulled me in. Do you have something to ask me?" Yi Fei nodded. His eyes were serious and cold. "Lin Tianjiao, don't worry. I won't meddle in your business. I won't ask too much. I just want to know who betrayed me." "Betrayed? So it's because of this." Lin Tianjiao smiled bitterly. "I knew you would ask about this sooner or later. I can swear that it wasn't me or Fu Renjie who betrayed you. If it wasn't you, then was it Chen Mengyao?" Yi Fei was surprised. He had no enmity with Chen Mengyao. Why would Chen Mengyao reveal his secret and let the 3 major sects of the chaotic ocean deal with him? Does she know that her actions have caused the deaths of many of our northern region's warriors? Yi Fei's expression was full of anger. He had thought that it might be Lin Tianjiao, Fu Renjie, or even the remnants of the Beiyuan kingdom who betrayed him. The only thing he didn't expect was that it would be Chen Mengyao, who had nothing to do with him. Faced with Yi Fei's questioning, Lin Tianjiao's expression was very complicated. He was silent for a while, and his voice was a little hoarse. Qin Mengyao had no choice. Not long after we set out to sea, we accidentally encountered the subordinates of the Sky Sword sect and Divine Dragon Island. They wanted to rob us. Fu Renjie and I wanted to fight with our lives, but Qin Mengyao went alone and negotiated with the Sky Sword sect. Later, we found out that Qin Mengyao used your secret as a condition for us to safely pass through the chaotic ocean. Because of this, Fu Renjie and Qin Mengyao had a big fight. Then, Qin Mengyao took a group of admirers and left in a fit of anger. Then what about Fu Renjie and Qin Mengyao? Are they also in the Snow Wind Empire? Yi Fei's expression was a little heavy. Although Qin Mengyao revealed his secret because of the situation, he still couldn't forgive her when he thought of the northern region's warriors who had died because of her. Lin Tianjiao smiled bitterly. Sorry, I don't know their whereabouts. Not long after Qin Mengyao left, Fu Renjie's and my fleet were attacked by a large group of Xiexio. We had no choice but to scatter and escape. Most of us died in the Xiexio Sea. I could only barely bring a few warriors from the Beihuang Kingdom and escape to the Snow Wind Empire. Therefore, I don't know Fu Renjie's whereabouts. The only thing I can be sure of is that Qin Mengyao is definitely still alive. After saying this, Lin Tianjiao stood up and turned to leave Yi Fei's room. He didn't reveal anything about himself. Chapter 953. Lin Tianjiao was walking on the streets of the imperial capital in despair. Xia Jun was puzzled. Big brother, isn't he your friend? Why don't we help him? Xia Jun's impression of Yi Fei was that he was a very loyal person. Even if he met a stranger, Yi Fei would help him when he was in trouble. Moreover, Lin Tianjiao and Yi Fei were both from the northern region. They were both friends and foes. However, it was precisely because they were old friends that Yi Fei understood Lin Tianjiao's pride. Retracting his divine consciousness, Yi Fei sighed. Lin Tianjiao is a proud man. He won't allow himself to lower his head to anyone. He also doesn't want anyone to see him down. I can help anyone, but I can't help him. His pride is worthy of respect. But aren't you afraid that he'll lie? Xia Jun asked again. Back then, Yi Fei's news had caused a huge commotion in the chaotic ocean. It had almost caused the Divine Fist sect to be destroyed. Xia Jun was also very concerned about this matter. Hearing this, Yi Fei smiled and replied with certainty, anyone can lie, but Lin Tianjiao will never lie. Because he's too proud. His pride doesn't allow him to lie. Xia Jun, go out now and call the inn owner in. I have something to ask him. Big brother, didn't you say that you won't help Lin Tianjiao? Xia Jun was a little confused. I didn't say that I would help Lin Tianjiao. I just want to find out more about the ninth prince. Can't I do that? Yi Fei said angrily. How could a little brother ask so many questions? Xia Jun was very depressed. As a little brother, he was helpless. He walked out and tossed a demonic soul over, and the innkeeper hurriedly scrambled in. Sir, if you have any orders, I'll tell you everything I know. Tell me about the ninth prince. He's a high and mighty prince. Why would he make life difficult for an ordinary beggar? He even forbade anyone from taking him in. He's clearly not giving him a way out. Bam! Yi Fei slammed the table and motioned for the inn owner to sit down. The inn owner didn't dare to sit down. Even Yi Fei didn't know that the current him seemed indifferent, but he had already developed a natural aura of a superior. Yi Fei's current aura was exactly what they meant by imposing without anger. Sir, I heard that the ninth prince seems to have taken a liking to that beggar outside and wants him to enter the palace as his servant. But this beggar be proud. I've run the inn owner. He refused to lower his head in front of the ninth prince. Even almighty martial saint. He didn't lower his head. No matter how the ninth prince forced him, breaking his arms and legs, tearing his tendons, and even finding people to humiliate and provoke him, this beggar was still so proud. He didn't say a word. It's a pity that he offended the ninth prince. Otherwise, the old and decrepit would want to help him. The owner of the inside. Yi Fei was a little surprised. He raised his eyebrows and a disdainful sneer appeared on his lip. How can a person's pride be subdued by some forceful methods? But why didn't he escape when the ninth prince tortured him? The inn owner hesitated. He wasn't stupid. He saw that Yi Fei had spoken up for the beggar, and now he was asking about this matter. He knew that Yi Fei wasn't just asking about it. The inn owner was obviously unwilling to say more. He was afraid that he would get into trouble. Yi Fei didn't rush him. He just tapped the table lightly with his finger. Every time he tapped the table, the inn owner's heart would thump like a drum. More sweat appeared on his face. Finally, the inn owner couldn't withstand this invisible pressure. He said with a long face, "Guest, you can't say that I told you this. According to the news I heard, the ninth prince has a special method to use soul worms to control other people's souls. I heard from the steward of the ninth prince's residence that the beggar repeatedly rejected the ninth prince's recruitment. This made the ninth prince feel very embarrassed. The last time he failed, the ninth prince planted a soul worm in the beggar's body. He can only be a beggar in the imperial capital for the rest of his life. He won't be able to escape, and he won't die." He also let other cultivators know the consequences of rejecting the ninth prince's recruitment. The inn owner's head was covered in cold sweat when he finished speaking. What he had said was the secret of the ninth prince's residence. If it hadn't been for the pressure on Yi Fei, the inn owner definitely wouldn't have said this. Yi Fei couldn't help but frown even more. He shook his head and said, "I was wondering why someone as talented as Lin Tianjiao would be in such dire straits in the imperial capital. It turns out that he has been hit by a soul worm and is being controlled by the ninth prince. One last question. Where is the ninth prince now?" "I'm not sure. Guest, you can try your luck at the Jade Fragrance House. The ninth prince loves to recruit strange people. He often hosts heroes who come to the imperial capital at the Jade Fragrance House. You might be able to meet him if you go there." The inn owner wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Jade Fragrance House? The ninth prince has quite the refined taste. It's a pity that he can't even tolerate one person. How can he make a true hero submit to him? What a joke. Yi Fei shook his head and stood up from his seat. He didn't go to look for the ninth prince immediately. After all, it was already late. Hence, Yi Fei decided that it wouldn't be too late to go to the Jade Fragrance House the next day. After sending the inn owner away, Yi Fei told Xia Jun, there are still dozens of days before the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. Don't go out. Focus on breaking through your realm here. Then, try to get us to join the Sacred Academy together. Big brother, don't worry. I will definitely break through to the earth-penetrating level 10 in 10 days. However, are we really going to join the real martial academy? Xia Jun asked worriedly. Why? Is there a problem with the real martial academy? Yi Fei asked curiously. How can there be no problem? The real martial academy was originally the strongest sacred academy in Central Plains. However, I went out to ask around and found out that the current real martial academy is gradually declining. Xia Jun quickly told Yi Fei the news that he had asked around. Since the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list had already started, people would naturally discuss the various sacred academies in Central Plains. Originally, there were 4 sacred academies in Central Plains. Real Martial Academy, Heavenly Law Sacred Academy, Heavenly Policy Sacred Academy, Divine Martial Academy. Of the 4 sacred academies, the strongest used to be the Real Martial Academy. However, for some reason, there was a serious internal conflict in the Real Martial Academy. As a result, A few martial monarchs from the real martial academy led a large number of outstanding disciples to join the other 3 sacred academies. Anyway, that's the situation. Martial monarchs are the core of the sacred academy. The number of martial monarchs represents the strength of the sacred academy. Although there are still a few martial monarchs in the real martial academy, most of them are very old. They might turn into Tao at any time. Once these old martial monarchs die, the real martial academy might be removed from the 4 sacred academies. Chapter 954. Jade Fragrance House. Forget it. It's useless to think so much. As long as we perform well in the Heaven Roll Supreme battle, we can decide which academy we want to join. Yi Fei shook his head and smiled. Xia Jun nodded seriously. That's true. Looks like I have to work hard to cultivate. With that, Xia Jun returned to his room and began his next breakthrough. On the way back, Yi Fei kept sparring with Xia Jun to hone Xia Jun's foundation. Xia Jun's foundation was very solid now. It wouldn't be a problem for him to break through to earth-penetrating 10th level in one go. This was the benefit of having a large number of spirit stones and demon souls. However, Yi Fei couldn't help but sigh when he thought of Lin Tianjiao, who had become a beggar. After all, he was an old friend of the northern region. How could he bear to see Lin Tianjiao in such a sorry state? I don't have to care about Lin Tianjiao, but I have to meet the 9th prince. Yi Fei closed the door and went to sleep. The dragon turtle returned to the beast mark space successfully and became very obedient. Even though it had awakened the Baxia bloodline, it still hid in Xiao Chao's bed and cultivated diligently. The next day, Yi Fei woke up early and walked out of the inn. He walked towards the Jade Fragrance House. The Jade Fragrance House was the largest restaurant in the imperial capital. Many high officials and nobles liked to entertain guests here. Many warriors also felt proud to enter the Jade Fragrance House. Although it was still early in the morning, the Jade Fragrance House was already welcoming guests. There were all kinds of carriages parked outside. There were also strange beasts pulling the young masters and young mistresses of the imperial capital towards the Jade Fragrance House. Yi Fei didn't need to ask around. He got a lot of information just by listening to the conversations of these young masters and young mistresses. Naturally, many young masters and young mistresses noticed Yi Fei. Yi Fei's earth-penetrating 10th level surprised them. However, when they saw Yi Fei's simple black robe, many young masters and young mistresses couldn't help but show looks of disdain. This person's strength is not bad, and he is also handsome. Unfortunately, his clothes are too shabby. I'm afraid it won't be easy for him to enter the Jade Fragrant brothel like this. Sigh, father said that we can't judge a book by its cover. The 9th prince also likes to recruit people with special abilities. This time, he should be here to join the 9th prince. That's hard to say. The Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking competition is about to start and there are too many geniuses who have entered the capital. The 9th prince might not be free to receive everyone. Moreover, the 5 geniuses are all here today. What? The 5 geniuses are all in the Jade Fragrance brothel? That's a grand event in our imperial capital. No wonder there are so many vixens dressed up gorgeously. The guards of the Chui Xiang brothel did not stop these carriages at all, allowing this group of young masters and young ladies to enter the Chui Xiang brothel while discussing. The guards even thought that Yi Fei was an attendant of these young masters and young mistresses. They actually allowed Yi Fei to sneak in with the carriage. Yi Fei didn't explain. When he heard that there were also 5 great geniuses in the imperial capital, Yi Fei recalled some memories. There were also 5 great geniuses in the northern region, but they were long gone. Among them, Song Yuzhan had died. Chen Mengyao had betrayed him. Fu Renjia's fate was unknown. Lin Tianjiao had become a beggar. Stop right there. Who are you? Without an invitation, how can you enter the 9th prince's banquet without permission? The Chui Xiang brothel's security was quite tight. Yi Fei could sneak into the Chui Xiang brothel by following the carriage. However, it wasn't that easy to enter the ninth prince's banquet, as one needed to show an invitation to enter. Without an invitation, it would be a great disrespect to the ninth prince to barge in. The guards of the garden looked at Yi Fei with unfriendly gazes. However, when they realized that Yi Fei was of the Earth Thorough Realm 10, they still forced themselves to be courteous. "Brother, if you're here to see the ninth prince, it'd be better to do it another day. The ninth prince is entertaining important guests right now. I'm afraid he won't have time for you," a guard said. "Don't worry. The ninth prince will definitely have time," Yi Fei replied with a smile. "You don't know what's good for you. Chase him away. Don't affect the mood of the important guests in the garden." A few guards were angered into laughter by Yi Fei's words. Then, they walked over fiercely and wanted to chase Yi Fei away. Bam! One of the guards was knocked unconscious by a punch. Another guard was kicked in the vitals. He squatted on the ground and fainted from the pain. Yi Fei was very patient. He waited until the young masters and young mistresses walked in before he made his move. He directly knocked out all the guards outside the garden. The Chui Xiang brothel was the most luxurious restaurant in the imperial capital. No one would expect that someone would make a move here. No one would recklessly approach the garden where the banquet was being held. After Yi Fei dealt with all the guards, no one noticed that an outsider had barged in. Yi Fei couldn't help but feel speechless. The imperial capital was too safe. This group of people's vigilance was really low. Originally, Yi Fei had wanted to fight his way in. In the end, after dealing with the guards, Yi Fei had very easily blended in. No one suspected Yi Fei's identity. Seeing Yi Fei's tattered black robe of purple and gold, many of the attendants in the garden greeted Yi Fei. "Brother, which prefecture are you from? You don't look familiar." "Oh, you're asking me? I'm new here. It just so happens that the ninth prince is inside." "He is. Many thanks." After confirming that the ninth prince was indeed in the tall building ahead, Yi Fei headed upstairs. At this time, the attendant who had been asked felt that something was wrong. "I asked you which prefecture you are from, and you said you're new here." What a typical answer. Also, you're just a servant. Why did you run upstairs to the banquet of the young masters and young mistresses for no reason? Why don't you take a look at the people who can go upstairs? They were all royal descendants, young masters, princesses, and young mistresses of the various great clans. Only upper-class people could enter the banquet. As attendants, even if they were at the first or second level of the Martial Saint realm, they could only respectfully wait outside. "Which prefecture is this kid from? He doesn't know the rules at all. He better not implicate us and get punished. He should have some urgent matter." Still, he could have just used a sound transmission talisman to send a message. Going up himself is a little rash. The first or second level of the heavenly connection martial saints guarding the entrance also noticed Yi Fei's actions. They hurriedly walked over and asked cautiously, "This young master, may I ask what business you have here?" "Apologies, I'm not a young master. I'm not here for any business. I just have some matters to discuss with the ninth prince." Yi Fei spoke very loudly. There was no helping it. There were too many people here. He might as well raise his voice so as to attract the ninth prince's attention. His words caused the banquet hall to quickly fall silent. Everyone looked at Yi Fei in surprise, and then looked at Yi Fei's tattered black robe. Shock appeared on many people's faces. Who is this person? Which family's young master is he from? He just said that he's not a young master. He should be a servant of that prefecture or an attendant. Someone guessed. The expressions of the martial saints turned increasingly ugly. Just as they were about to chase Yi Fei away, a surprised voice suddenly sounded from the crowd. "Brother Yi, we finally meet again. Jiang City?" Chapter 955. I don't like you, he's my friend. Let him in, Jiang Qing said to the two martial sage attendants at the door. Only then did the two martial sages give Yi Fei a hard time and leave without a sound. However, Yi Fei's shabby purple and gold robe was too eye-catching among the other young masters who were all dressed in fine clothes. Apart from Jiang Qing, no one else was willing to talk to Yi Fei. Yi Fei didn't mind either. Seeing an old friend in the imperial capital calmed him down a little. Jiang Qing invited Yi Fei to an empty seat and said, "Brother Yi, I've heard about what happened in Imperial Martial Hall. I don't blame you." Jiang Qing had made his stance clear from the very beginning. Yi Fei was a little surprised. "I killed your grandpa. Don't you hate me?" "Of course I do. But Grandpa killed you first. You were just trying to protect yourself. I thought you'd be his puppet. I should have been the one to do it." Jiang Qing sighed. When he found out that Jiang Min had died because of Yi Fei, Jiang Qing was filled with hatred. However, he soon thought things through. The matter of the martial imperial palace could not be blamed on Yi Fei. Yi Fei had only destroyed Jiang Min's remnant soul. The true cause of Jiang Min's death was that after her remnant soul was destroyed, she went crazy and self-detonated. Therefore, Jiang Min couldn't bring herself to hate Yi Fei. Northern Feng Mansion, on the other hand, was relieved that Jiang Min wasn't pressuring them. "Putting aside the grudge between our families, I hope we can still be friends in private." Jiang Qing extended his hand with an indescribable look on his face. "Sure. We'll be friends any time you want." Yi Fei patted Jiang Qing's hand. Both of them had finally resolved some of their grudges. For the sake of their families, there might be conflicts between him and Jiang Qing. But from the perspective of friends, he and Jiang Qing were special friends. They were both enemies and friends. With Jiang Qing here, it would be much easier for Yi Fei to find the ninth prince. He cupped his hands at Jiang Qing and said, "Brother Jiang, may I know where the ninth prince is?" "You are looking for the ninth prince. Do you want me to introduce you?" Jiang Qing said. "No need. It's just a small matter. I can go there myself." Yi Fei gave Jiang Qing a meaningful look. "The ninth prince is in the building in front. There are many princesses and daughters surrounding him. It's easy for you to recognize him." Jiang Qing toasted him and did not mention anything about recommending him. He understood that Yi Fei probably didn't come with good intentions. The only thing he couldn't understand was why Yi Fei had a conflict with the ninth prince when he had just arrived at the imperial capital. After all, Jiang Min's death had caused some psychological problems for both parties. Yi Fei didn't say anything, and Jiang Qing didn't ask either. He just sat by the side and watched the show. Following Jiang Qing's line of sight, Yi Fei finally saw the ninth prince's people. This person was very handsome, and his status as a prince made his every word and action exude a graceful and luxurious air. Not to mention the fact that the ninth prince was an expert of the royal family, he was also one of the top 10 young geniuses in the imperial capital. When the 5 great geniuses weren't around, the ninth prince undoubtedly attracted the gazes of countless princesses and daughters. Yi Fei walked over just like that, directly stopping in front of the ninth prince. When the princesses and daughters saw Yi Fei's shabby appearance, they all frowned and whispered to each other, "Who is this person? Could he be a servant of the prince's residence?" "I don't think so. I saw him sitting with Jiang Qing earlier." The ninth prince also noticed Yi Fei. He revealed a graceful smile, but he didn't say anything to Yi Fei. 2 sky-piercing stage 1 guards walked out from behind him, blocking Yi Fei's path like door gods. "What are you doing? Why don't you greet the ninth prince in front of you?" the 2 martial sages said coldly. They didn't care about Yi Fei's cultivation level. Yi Fei wasn't angry. He nodded indifferently at the ninth prince and said, "Ninth prince, I heard that you like to recruit people with special abilities. Is this how you recruit people? Using power to suppress people? Are you here to seek refuge with me?" The ninth prince waved his hand, gesturing for the two martial sages to leave. No, I'm here to ask you for someone. Yi Fei's tone was serious. He wouldn't help Lin Tianjiao, but he could give the ninth prince a warning. Who? The ninth prince frowned subconsciously. He was used to people's respect and flattery. Yi Fei's neither servile nor overbearing attitude made the ninth prince a little unhappy. Lin Tianjiao. Yi Fei's expression was calm. Who is Lin Tianjiao? Is there such a person in my residence? The ninth prince was stunned. He was the one who had turned Lin Tianjiao into a beggar and ruined his life. But when he turned his head, he actually forgot about it. Yi Fei's heart suddenly burned with anger. A martial sage beside him seemed to remember something. He whispered to the ninth prince, Master, that Lin Tianjiao seems to be the foreign martial artist who refused your recruitment and was turned into a beggar by your order. Oh, so it's that beggar. The ninth prince recalled that half a year ago, he had taken a fancy to a foreign martial artist's secret technique and wanted to recruit him. However, that person had been very proud and had refused him. Later on, the ninth prince had used all sorts of methods to force that foreign martial artist to give him the secret technique. However, that foreign martial artist had refused to yield and had refused to bow his head. Thus, in a fit of anger, the ninth prince had planted a soul worm in that person, making him unable to leave the imperial capital for the rest of his life. He could only spend the rest of his life as a beggar. However, that person had been too proud. Even though he had been reduced to a beggar, he had refused to let go of his pride. After being reminded by his subordinate, the ninth prince finally remembered. He also understood why Yi Fei had come. You're here to plead on his behalf, right? Then I'm sorry. The ninth prince's expression had clearly turned unpleasant. Sensing their master's intentions, the two martial sages looked at Yi Fei with increasingly cold gazes. What surprised them was that if it had been an ordinary thorough 10th level martial artist, he would have lost his head in fear under the gazes of the two martial sages. Yi Fei was actually smiling. His smile contained a hint of stubbornness. I'm also very sorry. I'm not here to plead on his behalf. I just don't like you and want to teach you a lesson. Boom. These words caused the two martial sages' eyes to widen. They wondered if they had heard wrongly. The princesses and daughters surrounding the ninth prince also looked up curiously and finally took a good look at Yi Fei. I couldn't tell. This person's clothes aren't good, but he looks somewhat handsome. It's a pity that his brain isn't good. He actually dared to say such words in front of the ninth prince. Many princesses and daughters couldn't help but sneak a glance at the ninth prince's expression. The ninth prince was still smiling, but his smile had become somewhat stiff. No one has ever dared to say such words to the ninth prince. The ninth prince's voice turned cold. That's because you've never met me. Yi Fei's tone suddenly became very cold. He ignored the astonished gazes of the crowd and pointed at the ninth prince. What's wrong? I don't like you. Do you dare to have any objections? You can keep them to yourself, but you must remove the soul worm that's controlling Lin Tianjiao. Otherwise, I'll be even more displeased with you. Chapter 956. 2 Week. Who was the ninth prince? He was a direct descendant of the royal family and one of the top 10 experts in the imperial capital. Just these two identities were enough to make countless geniuses lower their heads and even look up to him. Now, someone actually stood up and pointed at the ninth prince's nose and said that he didn't like the ninth prince. Even if he had an opinion, he had to keep it to himself. This person is crazy. He's too arrogant. Who let this country bumpkin in? Hurry up and kick him out. It seems like Jiang Qing let him in. Someone in the crowd exposed Jiang Qing in order to curry favor with the ninth prince. Jiang Qing looked indifferent as he shook his head and said, He's my friend, but his conflict with the ninth prince has nothing to do with me. That's right. I just don't like the ninth prince. It has nothing to do with Jiang Qing, Yi Fei said. Good, good. Nothing to do with Jiang Qing. What a good don't like looking at this prince. I also don't like you. The ninth prince was so angry that his smile turned into a hideous grin. As a prince, he had lived a life of luxury since he was young. When had he ever been scolded like this? Take him down. If you want to stand up for that beggar, then I'll make you a beggar like him. Take him down and I'll personally plant a soul worm on him. Kill. Hearing the ninth prince's command, the two martial sages who had retreated behind him immediately charged at Yi Fei furiously. He hadn't arrived yet. The terrifying murderous intent had already filled the entire banquet hall, oppressing many of the weaker nobles and young masters to the point that they could not breathe. This was the power of a martial sage. Ordinary powerhouses wouldn't be able to resist it. Jiang Qing, your friend is most likely done for. He must have lost his mind to offend the ninth prince in front of everyone. A prince who was close to Jiang Qing retreated and said, Brother Yi naturally has his reasons for doing this. Jiang Qing smiled. He didn't move, ignoring the pressure of the two martial sages. Yi Fei also didn't move, as if he didn't feel anything. The two martial saints were already charging towards him. He calmly looked at the ninth prince and said, Is this how you treat the wise? This is how you recruit people. If they don't want to be recruited, you use soul worms to control them and make them wish they were dead. Your methods are really low level. Yi Fei had a mocking look on his face. Shut up, brat, don't be rude to the prince. The two martial saints were enraged. Yi Fei still dared to spout nonsense under their auras. Wasn't this a slap to their faces? Originally, the two martial sages had decided to take down Yi Fei and forget about it. But now, they had decided to make Yi Fei suffer. Shwa! Shwa! The two martial saints stretched out their claws at the same time. Like iron hooks, they pressed down on Yi Fei's shoulders. At the same time, they ruthlessly swept towards Yi Fei's legs. They wanted to break Yi Fei's legs so that he could kneel in front of the ninth prince. What's going on? Why can't I break his leg? My leg. The two martial saints were clearly kicking Yi Fei, but Yi Fei's body did not move at all. He was like a mountain standing in front of everyone. On the other hand, the two martial saints felt that they were not kicking Yi Fei's legs, but an extremely hard steel plate. One of the martial saints used too much force and his toes were smashed. Scram! When I'm talking to your master, don't bark like a dog. Yi Fei made his move. His hands were as fast as lightning. He suddenly grabbed the two martial saints' heads and violently slammed them together. Bam! The crowd only heard a loud, muffled sound. The two martial sages had already collided head to head with each other. The collision caused them to stagger and bleed from their 7 orifices. The intense pain and dizziness caused them to simply faint. These are the people with special abilities that you recruited? Why do they look more like good-for-nothings? Ninth Prince, not only are your methods low, but your judgment is also really bad. Yi Fei shook his head and sighed. He felt that this was not enough. Seeing the two martial saints being so easily dealt with by Yi Fei, the eyes of many people in the banquet hall fell to the ground. An earth-penetrating 10th-layer martial saint had actually defeated 2 heaven-penetrating 1st-layer martial saint. This was a battle that was 2 levels higher. I didn't expect you to be a genius. No wonder you dare to speak to me like this. Very good, very good. Duan Lu, go and take him down. The 9th prince's expression was very ugly. The 2 martial saints being dealt with like this made him feel very embarrassed. However, the 9th prince did not immediately make a move. Instead, he sent out another subordinate to test Yi Fei. It was a masked man who looked like a shadow. His appearance could not be seen, but the moment this person appeared, the atmosphere in the banquet hall became much more solemn. Assassin? Yi Fei was somewhat surprised. There were still some strange people around the 9th prince. Assassin. Duan Lu, please advise me. Duan Lu's expression was very serious. A dagger quickly appeared in his hand. Then, he approached Yi Fei step by step. With every step he took, there would be an extra clone. Just like Duan Lu, he slowly walked towards Yi Fei. Seeing this, countless people of the royal family were also shocked. It's our Snow Wind Empire's most powerful shadow assassin, Duan Lu. I didn't expect him to be recruited by the 9th Prince. This is going to be a good show. Duan Lu once assassinated a heaven-penetrating 3rd-layer martial saint with his earth-penetrating 10th-layer martial saint. His strength is very terrifying. The most terrifying thing is Duan Lu's assassination technique. Each clone has the attack power of his main body. As long as his main body is not killed, Duan Lu's numerous clones can instantly tear a martial saint to pieces. The moment Duan Lu appeared, he immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. No one paid any attention to Yi Fei, even if Yi Fei had just defeated 2 martial saints. The 9th Prince also sneered at Yi Fei. He pointed at the floor and said, Duan Lu has never left anyone alive. If you are afraid, swallow this soul worm and obediently stay in the imperial capital as a beggar. As he spoke, he threw a black worm over. However, Yi Fei heavily stepped on it. The 9th Prince immediately flew into a rage. Duan Lu, die. At this moment, Duan Lu was already 10 steps away from Yi Fei. His shadow clones had also reached the limit of 100. Then, 100 Duan Lu rushed towards Yi Fei at the same time. The sharp dagger formed a terrifying ray of light that cut the space into countless pieces. Yi Fei still stood in the same place without moving. However, his eyes were already squinting as he praised, "What a good assassination technique! I actually can't see where your main body is. Since that's the case, then I will destroy all of your clones." Boom! Yi Fei unleashed his 10 primordial spirit. His majestic vital core was like waves and rivers. In the end, it turned into a terrifying sword storm that swept in all directions. In an instant, it swept all of Duan Lu's clones into it and tore them into pieces. Wow! Only Duan Lu's main body managed to escape from the terrifying sword storm with all his might. He did not even have time to breathe a sigh of relief. Suddenly, the world seemed to have frozen. Sky Destroyer sword, heaven-burying style. Yi Fei used a martial art that he had not used for a long time. His sword fingers were like a mountain as they pressed down. Duan Lu could not take it anymore. He roared angrily as his body was pressed to the ground. He looked at Yi Fei in shock and fear. "How did you find out where my main body is?" "I'm sorry. I didn't see your main body. I just thought that all of your clones were you and killed them all in one go. Your assassination technique is not bad. Unfortunately, your combat strength is too weak. Following the 9th Prince has completely buried your talent." Yi Fei shook his head and sighed. It was like a senior commenting on a junior. Hearing this, Duan Lu was so angry that he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. He did not expect Yi Fei to use force to break his technique. It was so easy for him to destroy the shadow assassination technique that he was so proud of. You. Chapter 957. Are you convinced? Even the powerful shadow assassin, Duan Lu, couldn't withstand a single move from Yi Fei. The people who had come to attend the banquet were all geniuses of the imperial capital. Many of them could tell that Yi Fei had been holding back. Otherwise, a single blade storm would have been enough to shatter Duan Lu's bones. This scene was too frightening. They had thought that Yi Fei was seeking his own death by provoking the 9th Prince. Now they realized that Yi Fei really did have the ability to do so. Duan Lu couldn't even withstand a single move from Yi Fei? Jiang Qing suddenly stood up. This was the first time his expression had turned serious. Back in the Royal Wind City, Jiang Qing had always regarded Yi Fei as a worthy opponent. Now, however, he realized that he had been wrong. He had underestimated Yi Fei's speed of growth. Perhaps other than someone with a special bloodline like Bailey Zhen, no ordinary martialist can stand shoulder to shoulder with Yi Fei. Even I can't. Jiang Qing suddenly felt a little dejected. He was also considered a very powerful genius. However, when it came to Bailey Zhen and Yi Fei, he felt that there was a huge gap between them. Duan Lu, you good for nothing. How many spirit stones did this prince spend on you? You can't even defeat a beggar. Someone wanted to carry the unconscious Duan Lu away, but he was suddenly reprimanded by the ninth prince. The ninth prince was really angry. The subordinates he had recruited were all useless. None of them could defeat Yi Fei. Fortunately, the ninth prince believed that he had figured out Yi Fei's trump cards after 2 consecutive battles. He finally stood up and looked coldly at Yi Fei. You are quite strong. Unfortunately, you shouldn't have offended me. You shouldn't have stood up for a beggar. If you castrate yourself and become a slave to declare your loyalty to me, I might consider forgiving you this once. The ninth prince was very arrogant. He wasn't just a prince. He was also one of the top 10 geniuses in the imperial capital. Why would he care about Yi Fei? The ninth prince's words caused an uproar among the princes present. What? Castrate himself and become a slave? Wouldn't that make him a eunuch? Many of the nobles looked at Yi Fei with gloating eyes. This was the result of offending the royal family. Many of the princesses and daughters looked at Yi Fei with sympathetic gazes. Yi Fei was quite handsome and strong, and he was the type that they liked. It was a pity that he had no background or backing, and most importantly, he had offended the ninth prince. How about it? If you submit to this prince, you can live. Seeing that Yi Fei did not speak, the ninth prince was very proud. He thought that Yi Fei was already afraid. Sigh. With a sigh, Yi Fei looked coldly at the ninth prince. You brought this upon yourself. I only came here to seek justice. But now I have decided that not only will I seek justice, I will also beat you into a pulp and let you persuade me with your own mouth. Boom! As he spoke, Yi Fei had already condensed another beam of sword light. Without another word, he slashed at the ninth prince. You are courting death. The ninth prince was enraged. In his opinion, even if Yi Fei had defeated Flowbreaker, he would have expended a lot of his true essence. Defeating Yi Fei now would be as easy as slaughtering a pig. The royal aura was imposing. It was like the roar of a dragon and tiger. It was like a huge elephant holding up the sky. The ninth prince made his move. His left hand shot out a huge golden dragon, while his right hand condensed a gorgeous tiger. At the same time, he strode forward like a huge elephant trampling the earth. Step by step, he closed in on Yi Fei. The ultimate technique of the royal family, Dragon Tiger Demonic Elephant Force. It looks like the ninth prince is really infuriated. That Yi Fei is finished. Although killing 100 of Flowbreaker's doppelgangers was impressive, he must have expended a lot of his true essence. There is no way he can defeat the ninth prince. Perhaps this was the ninth prince's plan all along. First, he would let his subordinates fight to deplete his opponent's true essence. Then, the ninth prince would strike and settle the matter with one move. What a scheme! What a move! Many of the princes and princesses were secretly cheering for the ninth prince. At the same time, they looked at Yi Fei mockingly, waiting to see Yi Fei's panicked expression. They were all disappointed. Yi Fei was actually smiling. It was a very clean smile, and also a very comfortable smile. Seeing Yi Fei's smile, many princesses and princesses felt their faces turn red. Their hearts were beating fast. That young man looked quite good when he smiled. How they hoped that he had not offended the ninth prince. You still dare to smile? This prince wants you to cry, but you won't even have the chance to. Roar. The dragon and tiger roared together, and the wind swept away the clouds. The world lost its color. The ninth prince was like a huge elephant charging at Yi Fei. Dragons and tigers followed him from both sides. It was a shocking sight. You can actually make your true essence evolve into a divine beast? Unfortunately, it's just a facade. Since you want to use strength to suppress me, I'll let you know what true strength is. Boom! The sword light that filled the sky disappeared. Suddenly, a dazzling golden light bloomed on Yi Fei's body. Suddenly, a terrifying aura appeared on Yi Fei's body. It was the aura of an ancient war demon. It was ancient and ruthless, powerful and violent. Fight! Yi Fei roared wildly. He was like a war demon that despised the common people. He wanted to destroy the world with brute force. Two golden fists rose slowly like the sun. It was so dazzling that many people could not open their eyes. They only heard the roars of the dragon and tiger. Yi Fei's golden demonic fists had already crushed the dragon and tiger with his bare hands. Then, they smashed towards the ninth prince's chest. This is impossible. What kind of power is that? Could it be a special bloodline? Suddenly, a trace of fear flashed in the ninth prince's eyes. He was one of the top 10 experts in the imperial capital. He unleashed his full strength. His terrifying true essence instantly condensed into a layer of terrifying elephant armor to protect himself. Elephant armor. The ninth prince had actually cultivated the elephant armor. Jiang Qing was shocked. He was also from a branch of the imperial family, although he was not qualified to cultivate the dragon-tiger demonic elephant force. However, he also knew that the most difficult part of the imperial family's secret technique was the elephant armor. Anyone who could cultivate the elephant armor was a genius among geniuses. The defense of the elephant armor was almost invincible. Boom! As the ninth prince condensed his armor and tried to counterattack, Yi Fei's fists smashed violently against the ninth prince's armor, causing the entire Jade Fragrance restaurant to shake violently. Crack! In front of the ninth prince, in front of Jiang City, in front of the dumbfounded gazes of countless martial artists, the ninth prince's greatest trump card, the so-called invincible elephant armor, had actually been shattered by Yi Fei with his bare hands? No, this can't be true. How could he break my elephant armor? Could he be a martial artist with a special bloodline? Ninth prince widened his eyes in horror. His armor had shattered, causing his chest to cave in. He turned around and fled. He no longer dared to continue fighting with Yi Fei. Run? Where do you think you're going? Let me ask you, do you submit or not? Boom! The golden fist descended and rose, creating terrifying ripples in the void. This was the terror of the war demon's power. Boom! 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 Although the ninth prince's dragon-tiger demonic elephant force was a very strong force, it was still inferior to the boom. Boom! 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 Yi Fei grabbed the ninth prince with his bare hands and lifted him into the air. Then, he threw him back to the ground and stomped on the ninth prince's stomach. Chapter 958. Jiang Xiama Puff. The ninth prince has always been high and mighty. He has never been stepped on like an ant before. Now, Yi Fei actually asked him if he was willing to submit. If he were to submit, the imperial family would lose all of their face. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, the ninth prince began to struggle with all his might. He was like a giant elephant, erupting with terrifying strength that caused the ground to rumble. He tried to grab Yi Fei's leg and flip Yi Fei to the ground. Since you are unwilling to submit, it seems that I shouldn't step on your body, but on your face. Yi Fei increased his strength coldly. The ninth prince was reaping what he sowed, so Yi Fei would not show him any mercy. He only exerted a little force on his feet, and the ninth prince's struggles became soft and powerless. Then Yi Fei raised his leg. You dare! The ninth prince immediately screamed in horror. Being stepped on by Yi Fei was already a huge loss of face. If Yi Fei stepped on his face, the ninth prince would not have the courage to continue living. Stop! Following the ninth prince's scream, a woman with an aura suddenly came down from the pavilion. The woman's features were picturesque, but her eyes had a trace of coldness. It's the Imperial Princess, Jiang Xiaoma, our Snow Wind Empire's second-ranked Sky Pride. Seeing the appearance of the woman, the princes and young masters at the banquet all looked at Jiang Xiaoma with fiery eyes. They had long heard that the Empire's 5 great Sky Prides would also be gathered here today, which was why they hurried over. However, Jiang Xiaoma's status was noble, and she had no intention of coming down from the pavilion. This made many young masters feel disappointed. Now that Jiang Xiaoma finally came down, they all became excited. At the same time, there were 4 men with extraordinary auras who came down with Jiang Xiaoma. They were either arrogant or confident. The moment they came down, countless princesses and daughters screamed. Look, it's Ning Zhongchen, Chen Wanli, Huang Feiying, and the number 1 Sky Pride, Shui Wushang. These 4 people, together with Jiang Xiaoma, were the 5 strongest geniuses of the Snow Wind Empire. Without Bai Lizhen, the 5 of them were the brightest stars of the Snow Wind Empire. This was especially true for Jiang Xiaoma. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also able to become the second strongest genius despite her status as an imperial daughter. It was clear that this woman was extraordinary. Seeing Jiang Xiaoma appear, the 9th prince, who was lying on the ground, was clearly emboldened. He roared loudly, "Royal sister, avenge me! This person insulted our royal family and even dared to step on me. Royal sister, you must not let him live." "Shut up!" Yi Fei lifted his foot and brought it down again. In front of Jiang Xiaoma, Yi Fei mercilessly stepped on the 9th prince's face. The 9th prince's face turned green. He was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Boom! Seeing Yi Fei's actions, the princes and young masters present were in an uproar. Even Jiang Qing felt his heart skip a beat. He felt that Yi Fei was too bold. Then, countless people started cursing. "Impudent! How dare you commit such a violent act in front of the 5 great prodigies? Do you have any respect for the imperial family? How dare you rebel? Your Highness, this person is treacherous and a traitor." Jiang Xiaoma's expression was very ugly. She raised her hand and gestured for everyone to quiet down. Then, she glared at Yi Fei and said in a grave and angry tone, "How did the 9th prince offend you? Why are you treating him like this? Don't you think you've gone too far?" Yi Fei nodded coldly and moved his foot away from the 9th prince's face. "I have indeed gone too far. But why don't you ask the 9th prince how he has gone too far? He failed to recruit people and used the soul worm as he pleased. He caused people to become beggars in the imperial capital and ruined their lives. Isn't he going too far? Words are no proof. What evidence do you have?" Jiang Xiaoma's expression eased. She had clearly heard of the 9th prince's actions. "If you want evidence, that's easy. Why don't you ask him yourself? Get over there. I know you didn't faint." Yi Fei raised his foot and looked like he was going to stomp down again. After all, he was one of the top 10 experts in the imperial capital. If he fainted because of a little humiliation, then his status as one of the top 10 experts would be too low. Just as Yi Fei raised his foot, the 9th prince had already jumped up from the ground in anger and humiliation. He returned to Jiang Xiaoma's side at lightning speed. "Men, kill him for me. Whoever kills him, I'll report it to my imperial father and personally bestow him the title of prince with a different surname." The 9th prince's face was twisted as he glared at Yi Fei with incomparable hatred. He hadn't been seriously injured by Yi Fei, but he had lost too much face. Especially when Yi Fei had stepped on his face, the 9th prince had even thought of committing suicide. Following the 9th prince's words, the auras of several powerful martial sages appeared around the Tsuexiang restaurant and locked onto Yi Fei. Just as Yi Fei thought that there would be a big battle today, Jiang Xiaoma suddenly spoke. Jiang Xiaoma suddenly opened her mouth and coldly ordered, "All of you, stand down. This matter will be handled by the 5 of us." The gazes locked onto Yi Fei immediately disappeared, and the martial sages in the dark all retreated. Yi Fei looked at Jiang Xiaoma with some astonishment. The 9th prince looked at Jiang Xiaoma with a face full of shock. "Imperial sister, what do you mean? This person insulted me and the imperial family. Why are you stopping me from killing him?" "Pa." Jiang Xiaoma's reply was a heavy slap to the 9th prince's face. Jiang Xiaoma's gaze was cold and a little angry. The one who insulted the imperial family was not him, but you. As members of the imperial family, we shoulder a huge responsibility. But what did you do? You destroyed his life just because he rejected you. How do you want the world to view the imperial family? The 9th prince was stunned by the slap. He covered his face and looked at Jiang Xiaoma with great fear. Finally, he lowered his head and didn't dare to continue speaking. After all, many people in the imperial capital knew that he had suppressed Lin Tianjiao. He couldn't deny it even if he wanted to. The 9th prince lowered his head and said sullenly, "Imperial sister, I know what to do. I will order my men to release that beggar." Jiang Xiaoma nodded and lectured him. "9th brother, you did the right thing. The status of the imperial family doesn't allow us to do whatever we want. It allows us to shoulder more responsibilities. It's wrong for you to destroy others, but it's also wrong for him to humiliate you. Imperial sister, please uphold justice for me." The 9th prince was overjoyed. He understood that Jiang Xiaoma lecturing him was secondary. Her main purpose was to stand up for him. "You want to attack me?" Yi Fei was a little surprised. He felt that Jiang Xiaoma wasn't simple. First, she punished the 9th prince and restored the imperial family's reputation. Then, she stood up for the 9th prince. Not only did she win over the 9th prince, but she also dealt a blow to Yi Fei and restored the imperial family's lost reputation. It could be said that after Jiang Xiaoma's attack and Yi Fei's kick to the 9th prince's face, not only did it not bring shame to the imperial family, it even improved the imperial family's image imperceptibly. Of course, Yi Fei, who had hit the 9th prince, became a complete villain in the eyes of many noblemen. Jiang Xiaoma's expression was calm when she heard Yi Fei's words. She had no intention of attacking Yi Fei. Many of her admirers were already staring unkindly at Yi Fei. Chapter 959. First Sword. What? The first sword, Ning Zhongchen? He actually made his move before us. There's no hope now. Who doesn't know that Ning Zhongchen is interested in the princess? If he pleases the princess, damn it, if I knew Ning Zhongchen would make a move, I would have fought first. As a princess of the royal family, Jiang Xiaoma was extremely beautiful and popular in the capital. She didn't even need to lift a finger and countless people would fight to teach Yi Fei a lesson for her. It's not a bad idea to let Ning Zhongchen fight. He easily defeated 9th brother, so he might be a chosen. Only a chosen of the same level could defeat him. Thinking of this, Jiang Xiaoma gave Ning Zhongchen a rare smile. "Zhongchen, do your best. Don't worry, princess. My first strike will not disappoint you." This was the first time Ning Zhongchen had seen Jiang Xiaoma smile. His fighting spirit was ignited. Ning Zhongchen walked towards Yi Fei coldly with his sharp sword aura and hot blood. He said in a low voice, "I don't care who you are. You are in the wrong for causing trouble at the Jade Fragrance brothel. Tell me your name. My first sword will not kill a nameless person." "The first sword? Is your sword very strong?" Yi Fei looked at Ning Zhongchen, amused. There was no limit to the sword, yet this person dared to call himself the number 1 sword. From this, one could see how prideful this person was. On the other hand, The path of the sword was all about being open-minded and tolerant. If the heart is not sincere, the sword will not be strong. If the sword wasn't strong enough, then it wouldn't be sharp enough. There is no limit to the sword, but your sword is already full. You don't deserve to be called the first sword. Why don't you change your name? Yi Fei suggested seriously. In Ning Zhongchen's ears, these words were blatant mockery. What? Did we hear wrongly? This brat dares to be so arrogant in front of the first sword? What a lunatic! How infuriating! Ning Zhongchen, use your sword and let this outsider know the power of the capital's prodigies. Kill him, kill him, kill him! The ninth prince led his group of followers and roared with a venomous expression. He could not wait for Ning Zhongchen to kill Yi Fei. It's Ning Zhongchen. Yi Fei is in danger now. When Jiang Qing saw that it was the first sword, Ning Zhongchen, he could not help but glance at Yi Fei worriedly. Looking at Yi Fei, he still looked indifferent, neither happy nor sad. He just stood there like a normal person, but he gave off an invisible pressure that made people look up to him. Jiang Qing was suddenly speechless. The cries of the princes and young masters gradually became powerless. The princesses' and daughters' eyes lit up as they looked at Yi Fei. So that's how it is. You also use swords. No wonder you're jealous of my title of first sword. It was a pity. My title wasn't earned through training, but through killing. You can't take the title of the first sword away from me. Ning Zhongchen sized up Yi Fei seriously for the first time. Others might not have sensed it, but as a swordsman, Ning Zhongchen immediately sensed the invisible sharpness hidden in Yi Fei's body. That was a sword. He was also human. Make your move. Ning Zhongchen raised his sword with high fighting spirit. There was nothing more exciting than a fight between swordsmen. Jiang Xiaomao, Chen Wanli, Huang Feiying, and the others all held their breaths as they watched the fight seriously. This was the first time Ning Zhongchen made his move after so many years. They wanted to see how much Ning Zhongchen had improved after so many years of hard work. No, you should make your move first. Yi Fei's reply made many people feel gloomy. He dared to let his opponent make the first move in the face of the first sword? How stupid was he? Are you afraid? Ning Zhongchen was stunned. I'm not afraid. It's just that once I make my move, you may not have the chance to make your move. Yi Fei's expression was full of seriousness. He was speaking the truth. This was his confidence in the way of the sword. But in the ears of others, Yi Fei's words were even more arrogant and egotistical than asking Ning Zhongchen to remove his title of first sword. This guy doesn't know how to spell the word death. Brother Ning, since he wants to die, why don't you fulfill his wish? Huang Feiying was so angry that he laughed. That's right. Hurry up and kill him. Let's continue drinking. Chen Wanli secretly shook his head. Being arrogant with strength was self-confidence. Being arrogant without strength was a classic example of being reckless. Jiang Xiaomao shook her head. She felt that she had overestimated Yi Fei. Ning Zhongchen had good self-restraint. At this moment, his eyes were filled with anger. As the first sword, I'm not even half as arrogant as you. I'll let you know what the first sword is. Kill. One sword shatters mountains and rivers. Boom! The shocking sword light turned into a raging wave that flowed out from Ning Zhongchen's hand. The boundless sword chi was like flowing water, like mist, and then suddenly turned into a roaring river. The river was too terrifying. In an instant, it drowned the entire banquet hall. Countless martial artists paled and frantically retreated. Just by feeling Ning Zhongchen's sword chi, their hearts were filled with the fear of death. The sword chi has turned into an endless river. Ning Zhongchen has become stronger. Huang Feiying and Chen Wanli exclaimed at the same time. In the past few years, they had also improved, but obviously not as much as Ning Zhongchen. How is this possible? Jiang Xiaomao suddenly widened her eyes. Huang Feiying and Chen Wanli curiously followed her line of sight. Both of them were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out. Facing Ning Zhongchen's terrifying sword Qi River, Yi Fei did not use his sword. Instead, his entire body shone with a golden light. He was like an ancient war demon, ignoring all obstacles. He went against the flow of the river of swords and strode toward Ning Zhongchen. The sword Qi is like a river. Your sword is very strong. Unfortunately, your heart is too complacent. This kind of sword Qi river cannot hurt me. Yi Fei made a grabbing motion with his hand. A small whirlpool appeared in the sword Qi river. Then, this whirlpool grew bigger and bigger. From the beginning to the end, Yi Fei did not use his sword, nor did he release any sword Qi. He only used his heart as a sword and quickly comprehended the core essence of this sword Qi river. Then, Yi Fei was like a tidal wave. He waved his hands and forcefully slapped the sword Qi river. The entire sword Qi river was no longer under Ning Zhongchen's control. A huge sword Qi whirlpool appeared. This whirlpool grew bigger and bigger. In the end, Ning Zhongchen's sword Qi river was completely seized by Yi Fei. It formed a sharp sword Qi storm, whistling in the sky. This is impossible. How can you control my sword Qi? Ning Zhongchen was extremely shocked. He desperately urged his sword Qi to turn the tide. Why is it impossible? Your sword is my sword, and my sword is still my sword. Look carefully, this is the sword, this is the way of the sword. What number 1 sword? Even I don't dare to call myself that, what more you? Boom! The whistling sword Qi storm suddenly stopped. Then, it condensed into a huge sword Qi mountain. It pointed at Ning Zhongchen and said, I took one of your sword. Now, take one of mine. Heavenly sword art, sword Qi like a mountain. Boom! Like lightning tearing through the sky, many people had yet to recover from the shock of the sword Qi storm. The huge storm had already turned into a terrifying sword Qi mountain, mercilessly pressing down. Ah, I don't accept this. I am the number 1 sword. How can I lose? I want to win, I must win. Ning Zhongchen roared. Suddenly, he became one with his sword and crashed towards the sword Qi mountain. However, Yi Fei's sword Qi mountain was too heavy. That was the sword Qi mountain condensed by 10 primordial spirits. Its power was comparable to the 4th level of the martial saint realm. How could Ning Zhongchen block it? Chapter 960. Together, Ning Zhongchen had been defeated. He had been utterly defeated. At this moment, the princes, princesses, and daughters at the banquet finally realized how extraordinary this young man was. Who was Ning Zhongchen? He was one of the 5 great prodigies of the imperial capital and was known as the number 1 swordsman. Such a genius had been easily defeated by this young man's sword. Many people felt as if they were dreaming when they saw it with their own eyes. Ning Zhongchen has been defeated? Huang Feiying frowned. This result was beyond his expectations. He was defeated by his specialty, the way of the sword. Chen Wanli gasped as he sized up Yi Fei for the first time. Ning Zhongchen's defeat was justified. He turned the enemy's sword into his own. Old Ninth, do you still want revenge now? Jiang Xiaoma's expression was serious. She had thought that she had overestimated Yi Fei. Now, it seemed that she had underestimated him. This young man had the qualifications to be on par with the 5 great prodigies. I just don't know who is more powerful between him and Xue Wushang. Jiang Xiaoma subconsciously looked into the distance and saw a rare serious expression on Xue Wushang's face. 10 primordial spirit. He is the most terrifying opponent I have seen outside of Beilizhen. Xue Wushang could actually tell how many primordial spirits Yi Fei had. His words shocked all the martial artists present. They all looked at Yi Fei as if they were looking at a monster. 10 primordial spirits? Oh my God! The 9th prince's resentful face was now filled with fear. In this world, martial artists usually only had 1 primordial spirit. Those who had primordial spirits were either peerless geniuses or had large families with large amounts of resources to support the consumption of primordial spirit. But no matter which one it was, it meant that Yi Fei was extraordinary. Although the ninth prince was respected in the imperial capital, in the real world of martial arts, his status as a prince had no advantages. 10 primordial spirit. You actually have 10 primordial spirits. I lost. The sword light around Ning Zhongchen's body dimmed as he gave up resisting. I just want to know, how did you control my sword energy? Ning Zhongchen raised his head. His eyes were filled with hope and desire. Yi Fei nodded and said calmly, I can only say that the sword has no limits. Your sword doesn't have a sword heart. This is the reason why you lost. The sword is limitless. Sword heart? Could it be that you actually comprehended the enlightened sword heart? You didn't use your primordial spirit to crush me, but instead, you used your sword heart to crush my sword Dao. Haha, I, Ning Zhongchen, have practiced the sword for 30 years, but I actually forgot about my sword heart. Ning Zhongchen smiled sadly. He even forgot to say goodbye to Jiang Xiaoma and the others. He just turned around and left the Jade Fragrance brothel in a daze. From now on, there will be no first sword. These were Ning Zhongchen's last words before he left. What about you guys? Do you still want to attack me? Yi Fei no longer paid attention to Ning Zhongchen. His cold gaze swept across Jiang Xiaoma, Shui Wushang, Chen Wanli, and Huang Feiying's faces. Jiang Xiaoma and Shui Wushang's gazes turned serious. Chen Wanli and Huang Feiying, on the other hand, were furious. The 5 prodigies have always been united. Ning Zhongchen's humiliation is our humiliation. Chen Wanli is here to challenge you. Huang Feiying is here to challenge you. The two of them actually stood up at the same time, intending to challenge Yi Fei together. This caused many people to be shocked. Could it be that Yi Fei was so strong? He actually forced the 5 prodigies to send out 2 people at the same time? Jiang Xiaoma's brows relaxed. She smiled at Yi Fei and encouraged them. Feiying, Wanli, you guys have to do your best. Don't worry, princess. Ning Zhongchen lost because he was careless. He won't have it easy in our hands. Huang Feiying and Chen Wanli smiled proudly. They didn't believe that the two of them together couldn't defeat Yi Fei. The 5 prodigies had to regain their dignity. Kid, make your move. The 2 of us will let you have 3 moves first, Huang Feiying said. Chen Wanli also sneered coldly. Yi Fei also smiled. It was a very helpless and bitter smile. You'll let me have 3 moves? The 2 of you are still lacking. Why don't you come at me together? It's too troublesome to deal with them one by one. Yi Fei pointed at Jiang Xiaoma and then at Shui Wushang. Countless people looked at Yi Fei as if he was an idiot. They felt that Yi Fei really didn't know how to spell the word death. Did he think that he could challenge the 4 prodigies at the same time just because he defeated Ning Zhongchen in swordsmanship? Especially Shui Wushang, who was the number 1 prodigy. You want to challenge all of us? Shui Wushang couldn't help but look furious. If you want to fight, we'll fight you. Jiang Xiaoma was also infuriated by Yi Fei. She originally only wanted to teach Yi Fei a lesson, but after hearing Yi Fei's arrogant words, Jiang Xiaoma couldn't take it lying down. What was the difference between this and slapping the 5 prodigies in the face? Jiang Xiaoma and Shui Wushang weren't the only ones who stood out. Huang Feiying and Chen Wanli also couldn't hold back their anger and attacked Yi Fei at the same time. What an arrogant kid! I, Huang Feiying, can destroy you without the help of others. Vajra Shadowless Kick. Rumble! Huang Feiying's speed was fast and his entire body turned into a beam of light. Then, countless afterimages of his kicks formed a terrifying curtain of light. He kicked wildly at Yi Fei's vitals. Soul-chasing blade. Following closely behind was Chen Wanli's terrifying saber light, which formed a terrifying saber light. It slashed forward like a waterfall, shattering the void. However, the Emerald Fragrance restaurant was still intact. The light of a formation quickly appeared around it, blocking the destruction of the Emerald Fragrance restaurant. As expected of the first restaurant of the imperial capital, now I can attack without worry. Yi Fei lifted his head and looked at the afterimages of his kicks. Then, he looked at Chen Wanli's oncoming blade light. Suddenly, the 10 primordial spirits behind Yi Fei exploded. They were like 10 black holes that appeared from the void. Void sword fire. Rumble. Facing Chen Wanli and Huang Feiying's attacks, Yi Fei didn't even look at them. Endless sword light burst out from the void like an abyss and a torrential downpour. How is this possible? How can he explode with such terrifying sword chi in one go? Chen Wanli and Huang Feiying's eyes were bloodshot. They joined forces and wanted to use each other's auras to block the terrifying void sword fire. However, they forgot that Yi Fei had 10 primordial spirit. It was equivalent to 10 Yi Fei attacking them at the same time. How could they block such a terrifying attack? The 2 of you can't do it. The 4 of you should come together. Yi Fei stood in the middle of the battlefield. His 10 primordial spirits were like dazzling suns that surrounded him. He pointed at Xue Wushang. Xue Wushang's expression changed. He pointed at Jiang Xiaoma. Jiang Xiaoma was also shocked. Then, the 2 of them looked at each other and saw the seriousness and determination in each other's eyes. The 5 great sky prides had always been united. At this moment, they couldn't afford to retreat. Let's attack together. Xue Wushang's body exploded with a strong icy aura. Alright. Chapter 961. He was Yi Fei. Ice and Snow, Heaven and Earth. The first to attack was the top genius, Xue Wushang. He had the ice elemental body, which was a top-notch body constitution. It was only slightly weaker than special bloodlines. As Xue Wushang attacked, the entire Emerald Fragrance suddenly became extremely cold. The ground quickly froze and countless snowflakes floated in the sky. The terrifying chill instantly froze Yi Fei's void sword fire. Yi Fei was also instantly frozen and was sealed in a thick ice mountain. This was how terrifying Xue Wushang was. As soon as he attacked, many martial sages who were secretly watching the battle felt a chill run down their spines. Amidst the coldness, a dragon's roar could be heard. Dragon Tiger Elephant Force. Jiang Xiaoma wore a 5-colored elephant armor and looked like a valiant war goddess. Her left hand slapped out and formed a terrifying green dragon. It stretched out its sharp claws and clawed at Yi Fei's body. She clenched her right hand into a fist, and the white tiger behind her opened its mouth. The ferocious aura turned into fangs and swallowed Yi Fei's 10 primordial spirit. This is our chance. Let's attack. Let this arrogant brat know the consequences of provoking the top 5 geniuses. As soon as the void sword fire was frozen, Chen Wanli and Huang Feiying charged forward in anger. Chen Wanli's body was covered in saber chi, forming layers of terrifying saber waterfalls that slashed forward crazily. God-destroying leg. Huang Feiying spread his wings like an eagle. Giant footprints appeared in the sky as he stomped forward mercilessly. Rumble. The top 4 geniuses attacked at the same time, and their attacks were terrifying. Finally, the defensive array of the Emerald Fragrance could not withstand the attacks and was completely destroyed. The many martial sages who were secretly maintaining the operation of the formation all vomited blood and fell to the ground. Their eyes were filled with deep shock. The top 4 geniuses were only at the Earth Exuberant Realm level 10. However, their combat strength was more terrifying than a martial sage's. What a terrifying attack! The top 4 geniuses attacked together. That brat is finished. Humph, this is the price of being arrogant. He dares to challenge the 5 great geniuses by himself. Does he think that he is Bai Li Zhen and can defeat the 5 great geniuses with a single hand? Seeing that Yi Fei was still trapped in the layer of ice and unable to move despite the attacks of the four elites, many warriors began to make their moves. That's not right. With his strength, it's impossible for him to be frozen by my ice for so long. He's deliberately not dodging. Xue Wushang's face was filled with shock, which then turned into anger. Yi Fei actually dared to be so arrogant in the face of the combined forces of the four great prodigies? Kill him. He's too arrogant. Boom. Chen Wanli, Huang Feiying, was the first to strike the iceberg in front of him. The iceberg instantly shattered, erupting into endless smoke and dust. Only a few people noticed that when the iceberg shattered, Yi Fei's body suddenly emitted a dazzling purple-gold light. Then, the purple-gold light quickly transformed into a taiji ball. No matter how fierce Chen Wanli's waterfall saber light was, it could not cut open this strange Tai Chi sphere. Ah! Huang Feiying's eyes were crimson yellow as he frantically stomped down. Logically, a mountain range should have been crushed by his stomp. However, the purple-gold Tai Chi sphere was still as dazzling as before. Like a scorching sun, it deeply hurt his eyes. Impossible! What kind of martial skill is that? It's actually able to block our Jiang dynasty's strongest martial skill. Azure Dragon, White Tiger, and Divine Elephant. This was the source of the Jiang dynasty's power. Any one of these powers possessed the ability to kill those of a higher level. With the three powers combined, Jiang Xiaomao was a true goddess of war. She was able to kill opponents 3 levels above her. However, facing Yi Fei's purple-gold Tai Chi sphere, Jiang Xiaomao finally understood what it meant to be powerful, and what it meant to be in despair. The power of despair was not only capable of making one feel despair, it was also capable of making one's opponent feel despair. Ice Blade. In the end, only the strongest of the four, Xue Wushang, held on to his final confidence and unleashed his strongest attack. The ice and snow that filled the sky turned into countless ice blades. Amidst the cold wind, they whistled as they swept toward Yi Fei. Yi Fei did not move in the slightest. He stood there majestically like a mountain. The purple-gold Tai Chi sphere on his body was already blossoming with dazzling light. It allowed the countless ice blades to sweep toward him. Yi Fei began to walk. Step by step, he walked against the wind and snow. His cold gaze looked to Chen Wanli, Huang Feiying, Jiang Xiaomao, and finally Xue Wushang. You all still want to continue? Yi Fei asked indifferently. Truth be told, the attacks of the 5 heavenly geniuses had caused him to be slightly disappointed. Continue. Seeing the dazzling purple-gold Tai Chi sphere, Xue Wushang's expression stiffened. What he felt in his heart was deep despair. I've lost. Xue Wushang lowered his head in helplessness and despair. He had thought of countless methods. However, after seeing the purple-gold Tai Chi sphere, all of them turned into deep despair. I have no way to break through that strange light barrier of yours. I admit defeat. Jiang Xiaomao had a bitter smile on her face. Originally, she had not taken Yi Fei seriously. It was only now that she discovered that when facing Yi Fei, even though she was an imperial daughter, she could only look up to him. Defeated. The 4 heavenly geniuses attacked together, but we still couldn't break through his defense. Chen Wanli and Huang Feiying's faces were filled with shock, stupefaction, and disbelief. They had only experienced such despair twice. The first time was when they faced Beili Zhen. The second time was when they faced Yi Fei. The 4 heavenly geniuses were defeated. Oh my God! This is impossible. How can the 4 heavenly geniuses be defeated? They are the 5 strongest geniuses of the Snow Wind Empire. Other than Beili Zhen, who else could defeat them? Everyone was shocked. Then, they suddenly realized a terrifying fact. Although Beili Zhen had defeated the 5 heavenly geniuses in the past, he had only defeated the 5 heavenly geniuses. However, Beili Zhen had at least sent out a palm strike. Yi Fei, on the other hand, did not even make a move. He had only used a defensive martial art. Yet, Shui Wushang and the other 3 heavenly geniuses were filled with despair. They were willing to admit defeat? What kind of terrifying strength was that? What kind of shocking event was that? Could it be that Yi Fei already has the strength to face Beilizhen head-on? Jiang Qing exclaimed in disbelief. One had to know that in the Royal Wind City, Yi Fei was still being chased by Beilizhen. How long had it been since then? In just half a year, Yi Fei had caught up with Beilizhen and became the second genius to defeat the 5 heavenly geniuses at the same time. Could it be that Yi Fei has a special bloodline like his sister? Other than having a special bloodline, Jiang Qing could not think of any other explanation. Yi Fei, you're Yi Fei. You're the person that Beilizhen put on the entire country's wanted list. Jiang Xiaoma finally recalled something when she heard Jiang Cheng's exclamation. She looked at Yi Fei in disbelief. The martial artists present were in an uproar again. At this time, they remembered that from the beginning to the end, they did not know Yi Fei's name. Until Jiang Cheng lost his composure and cried out. Yi Fei, he's Yi Fei. No wonder he's so strong. No wonder Beilizhen put him on the entire country's wanted list. A genius that can compete with Beilizhen. It's not unjust that we lost to him. Shui Wushang, Qin Wanli, and Huang Feiying were all depressed. If they had known that Yi Fei was so strong, they would not have fought with Yi Fei. Chapter 962. Famous in the imperial capital. What? Yi Fei? He's actually Yi Fei. The 9th prince's intestines were green with regret. Even though he was a prince of the Snow Wind Empire, the most important thing in the imperial capital was in the central region. But in the central region, the most worthless person was a prince. Even though the Snow Wind Emperor doted on him a lot, that was because the 9th prince was the youngest. If the 9th prince was a super genius, he could make a choice. However, with Jiang Qianren's personality and the current situation in the Snow Wind Empire, Jiang Qianren might not even frown and sacrifice the 9th prince. This was the imperial family, Being born in the imperial family Wang, the 9th prince was not stupid. He naturally knew how to choose. Young Master Yi, I'm really sorry. It's all my fault. I apologize to you. The 9th prince immediately lowered his head to Yi Fei. However, Yi Fei had just stepped on his face and now he actually had to apologize to Yi Fei. Even though the 9th prince knew that he was forced to do so, his face still flushed red. His mood was very bad. Jiang Xiaoma secretly nodded. She felt that the 9th prince had finally done the right thing. At the same time, she helplessly apologized to Yi Fei. Young Master Yi. It's the 9th prince's fault this time. Please forgive him this time. Even Jiang Xiaoma apologized? Yi Fei was a little surprised. Since when did his name have such a great deterrent? Of course, Yi Fei did not know that in the central region, the imperial capital valued geniuses the most. Any super genius status in the imperial capital was definitely more honorable than a prince. This was also the reason why Beilizhen could mobilize the entire imperial capital to arrest Yi Fei even though he was not part of the imperial family. Although he did not understand this point, Yi Fei still felt relieved when he saw that the 9th prince had finally lowered his head. After all, he had already defeated the 5 heavens' prides. If they continued to fight, things might not end well. Yi Fei knew when to stop. After all, he still had to stay in the Snow Wind Empire. Yi Fei withdrew his 10 primordial spirits and looked coldly at the 9th prince. You shouldn't be apologizing to me. You should be apologizing to Lin Tianjiao. Young Master Yi, don't worry. I'll personally ask Old 9th to apologize to Lin Tianjiao. Jiang Xiaoma hurriedly said. After knowing Yi Fei's identity and witnessing Yi Fei's terrifying strength, Jiang Xiaoma no longer dared to continue fighting with Yi Fei. Snow Wind Empires, empires, Snow Wind Empires, 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 empire. In the past, there had been several cases of super geniuses being ostracized in other empires and being forced to join other empires. Of course, when these geniuses grew up, without exception, they ruthlessly destroyed the empires that had ostracized them. With these bloody lessons, no empire dared to casually ostracize geniuses anymore. This also made the status of super geniuses in the empire very special. As long as they were powerful and did not betray the empire, even the prince's status was inferior to these super geniuses. Yi Fei did not know this at this moment. Although he felt that the ninth prince had given in too quickly, he had already achieved his goal and did not want to cause any more trouble. Yi Fei nodded at Jiang Xiaoma and said, "Ninth prince, listen carefully. When you apologize, you better be sincere and don't mention my name. Otherwise, I'll come looking for you again." After speaking, Yi Fei turned around and left, leaving the ninth prince standing there with a frightened expression. Yi Fei's words of coming back gave the ninth prince quite a fright. Imperial sister. The ninth prince looked at Jiang Xiaoma for help. "Why are you looking at me? You're the one who caused this. If you don't want Imperial Father to blame you, you should settle it yourself." Jiang Xiaoma was faintly angry at the ninth prince. Yi Fei's appearance had a great impact on her heart. A super genius comparable to Bailey Zhen would be highly valued by any empire. Seeing that she could not keep Yi Fei, Jiang Xiaoma simply ran back to the palace and directly reported this matter to the Snow Wind Emperor. With Yi Fei's commotion, the ninth prince's banquet could not continue. However, the large group of young masters and young mistresses did not leave. Instead, they gathered in groups of 3 to 5 and continued to discuss. "I didn't expect that Yi Fei to be so strong. He did not even use a single hand and forced the 5 great prodigies to admit defeat. Could he also be a genius with a special bloodline? I think it's very possible. Only a genius with a special bloodline can do this. I just don't know how strong his special bloodline is. It's definitely stronger than Bailey Zhen." "That's not necessarily true. I still feel that Bailey Zhen is stronger. Otherwise, Bailey Zhen wouldn't have openly pursued Yi Fei. It's just a pursuit. Didn't Yi Fei come to the imperial capital safely? Actually, I feel that Yi Fei is quite handsome and young. I wonder if he's married." Someone in the crowd casually mentioned this, and the eyes of countless princesses and young mistresses lit up like stars. In the past, their goal was the 5 great prodigies. Now they realized that they had a higher choice, and that was to take down Yi Fei. After all, Yi Fei was very strong. It was very likely that he was a special genius like Bailey Zhen. If they could take down Yi Fei and have a few children, then their lives would be too blissful. "I've decided. I'm going to pursue young Master Yi." Scram to the side. A bunch of vulgar women. Look at yourself. A bunch of vixens. Do you have my figure and beauty? Unknowingly, the princesses and young mistresses' quarrel turned into a war of words and then a public gang fight. Fortunately, Yi Fei didn't know about this. Otherwise, he would have vomited blood. When he returned to the inn, he saw that Xia Jun was still cultivating in seclusion. Yi Fei also returned to his room and cultivated diligently. Although the 5 great prodigies of the imperial capital couldn't withstand a single blow, Yi Fei's heart was still weighed down by a huge mountain. That was Bailey Zhen. Only by defeating Bailey Zhen can I become the strongest in the Snow Wind Empire. With my current strength, I wonder if I can defeat a special genius like Bailey Zhen? Yi Fei thought to himself. Then, he cultivated diligently. He wanted to raise his realm to the level of a sage-to-be before the Heaven and Earth Supreme Leaderboard started. However, it was too difficult to become a sage-to-be. That was someone who had half a foot in the martial sage realm. Without anyone to guide him, he had to rely on his own comprehension. This was undoubtedly a long process. At the same time, the ninth prince also found Lin Tianjiao during this period of time. He even lowered his head and apologized to Lin Tianjiao in public and removed his control over Lin Tianjiao's soul worm. Lin Tianjiao was shocked. He knew that the ninth prince had used all kinds of methods to torture him and force him to submit in order to obtain his secret skill. Why did the ninth prince suddenly change his mind after only half a year? Not only did he release him, but he also gave him various treasures as compensation. The ninth prince even wanted to bestow a city to Lin Tianjiao and make him an official of the empire. However, Lin Tianjiao rejected him on the spot. He was a proud person and his pride didn't allow him to lower his head to anyone. He also didn't allow him to accept anyone's charity. I will use my own hands to obtain everything that I have. However, who exactly is helping me? Lin Tianjiao was after all a former North Region genius. He was proud and he was also very smart. The ninth prince wouldn't let him off for no reason. The only possibility was that someone had warned the ninth prince so that the ninth prince had no choice but to give up on targeting him. I have no relatives or friends in Zhongzhou. Who would help me? Could it be him? Lin Tianjiao suddenly thought of something and his expression became strange. It was a complicated emotion of shock, gratitude, and a stab of pride. Chapter 963. Seeking an audience, Bailey Zhen, what's wrong with you? We gave you so much power and even transferred the twin ghosts of Black and White over to listen to your command. Yet, not only did you fail to capture that Yi Fei, you even let him enter the imperial capital. The imperial capital was in an uproar after the commotion in the Jade Fragrance House. Many princesses and daughters even fought for Yi Fei. This news immediately spread to every corner of the imperial capital. Yi Fei's fame spread to every corner of the imperial capital. As the most powerful family in the Snow Wind Empire, the Bailey family naturally received the news immediately. The members of the Bailey family were shocked. They thought that there was only one possibility for Yi Fei to enter the imperial capital while being chased by Bailey Zhen and the Bailey Double Demons. Bailey Zhen neglected his duty and did not pursue Yi Fei seriously. Thus, the 12 elders of the Bailey family immediately vented their anger on Bailey Zhen. At this moment, Bailey Zhen had not entered the imperial capital. He was still on his way to the imperial capital. When he heard that Yi Fei had entered the imperial capital, Bailey Zhen was shocked. What? Yi Fei has entered the imperial capital and the Bailey Double Demons were unable to stop him? It seems that this person is not as simple as I thought. Bailey Zhen was very proud but not arrogant. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that Yi Fei did not have any special bloodline. However, he was able to escape the pursuit of 2 martial saints and enter the imperial capital. This in itself showed that Yi Fei was not simple. This person either has a powerful figure watching him from behind, or she has some special means. Or perhaps she has been helping Yi Fei escape all this time. Bailey Zhen's eyes flashed with a cold light. In the end, he suppressed his anger and said to the sky in a deep voice, "Elders, it is not that I did not try my best to pursue Yi Fei. I was entangled by the Beast King on the way. In the end, the ones who pursued Yi Fei were the Bailey Double Demons. Even if they failed in their duty, it is their fault." Bailey Zhen was even more furious when he said this. Originally, he could have used the Beast King's power to forcefully break through to the half-step Saint realm and further enhance his bloodline power. However, Bailey Zhen was very unlucky. He had encountered Little Fatty who had been possessed by demon power. The Beast King and Little Fatty had joined hands. So, even someone as strong as Bailey Zhen had been forced to flee in defeat. Of course, he had also lost the opportunity to step on the Beast King's head and break through to the Semi-Sage realm. Shut up. We don't need any explanation. We only want to know the result. We only want you to bring her back to our Bailey family in one piece. If you bring her back, you'll have made a great contribution, If you can't bring her back, you'll have to be prepared for punishment. Humph. The voice in the void didn't want to listen to Bailey Jean's explanation at all. After throwing out this threat, the voice in the void disappeared immediately. Only Bailey Jean was left behind, looking at the sky with a gloomy expression. Then, Bailey Jean's expression became ferocious as he coldly stared at the sky and cursed, "A group of old bastards, what qualifications do you have to order me around? I'm the hope of the Bailey family, not you. When I win the Heaven-list sovereign battle, enter the Saint Academy, and break through to the martial Emperor realm, I'll let the Bailey family have only one voice. My Bailey Jean's voice." Humph. With a cold expression, Bailey Jean sped up his journey to the imperial capital. Although he was unhappy with the orders of the family elders, Bailey Jean vaguely knew how important Xiao Chao was to the whole family. The only thing that Bailey Jean felt strange about was why the Bailey twin demons hadn't contacted him after such a long time. They had even allowed Yi Fei to swagger into the imperial capital. Did something happen to the Bailey twin demons? Bailey Jean also thought of this possibility. Then, he smiled and shook his head. Once the Bailey twin demons join hands, it would be difficult for me to defeat them. That Yi Fei is just an ordinary person. He can't even withstand one of my hands. It's impossible for him to be a threat to the Bailey twin demons. It seems that they are delayed by something. I didn't expect it to be so difficult to break through to the half-saint level. I spent a total of 50 million upper spiritual stones, but I still couldn't complete the absorption of the primordial spirit. If I want to break through to the half-saint level, I'll need at least 500 million upper spiritual stones. After leaving the Jade Fragrance House, Yi Fei hid in the inn and cultivated for 10 days. However, after 10 days, Yi Fei was a little depressed to find that it was not so easy to break through to the half-saint level. After all, it was a crucial step to enter the martial saint level. Many warriors were trapped for decades, centuries, or even until they died of old age, without any hope of breaking through. It was obviously unrealistic for Yi Fei to break through to the half-saint level in just 10 days. Dong dong dong. At this moment, there was a series of knocks on the door. "Young Master Yi, are you in? Someone wants to see you." The innkeeper's voice was very polite. Especially in the past 10 days, countless daughters of aristocratic families had sent people to inquire about Yi Fei's situation. The innkeeper's attitude towards Yi Fei had become very respectful. "Just say that I'm not free. I won't see him," Yi Fei said impatiently. He thought that those people outside were the young masters of aristocratic families who were trying to befriend him. He was busy cultivating and did not have the time to entertain them. Hearing this, the innkeeper said helplessly, "Young Master Yi, I also said that you're not free, but that beggar kept insisting. He said that you wouldn't see him, so he kept waiting outside. He has been waiting for a few days." Beggar? Could it be Lin Tianjiao? Yi Fei was a little embarrassed now. He roughly understood why Lin Tianjiao was here. Lin Tianjiao wanted to meet him, but he did not want to meet him. After all, he was an old friend. In the end, Yi Fei could only open the door helplessly and walk out. From afar, he saw a cold and arrogant figure standing outside the inn. Who else could it be but Lin Tianjiao? Half a year of living as a beggar did not destroy Lin Tianjiao's pride. Instead, it made Lin Tianjiao more mature. Yi Fei nodded secretly. He walked out and pretended to be confused. "Lin Tianjiao, why are you looking for me?" "The 9th prince let me go and removed the control of my soul worm," Lin Tianjiao said as he stared at Yi Fei's expression. With how thick-skinned Yi Fei was, of course, he would not feel guilty after a few glances from Lin Tianjiao. He was shocked and said, "What? The 9th prince let you go? What is going on? Tell me." Looking at Yi Fei's shocked face, Lin Tianjiao did not know what he was feeling. However, he did not thank him. Instead, he suddenly said, "No matter who helped me, I will not thank him." Maybe that person did not intend to help you. You don't have to thank him. Yi Fei touched his chin and speculated. Lin Tianjiao was silent. He seemed to be pondering over what Yi Fei had said. Then, he lifted his head and there was a flash of sharpness in his eyes. I will definitely participate in the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking this time. I will replace my dead comrades from the North region and join the Saint Academy. Are you sure? But your strength. Yi Fei looked at Lin Tianjiao in shock. This person was even more prideful and tenacious than when he was in the northern region. With Yi Fei's current cultivation, he could tell that Lin Tianjiao's cultivation was only at the 7th layer martial emperor realm with a glimpse. Such a cultivation was equivalent to an ordinary soldier in the imperial capital, which was filled with experts. Chapter 964. The deal, I'm sure. Lin Tianjiao's eyes were stubborn, but at the same time, there was a hint of pain. He sighed. But I also understand that with my current strength, I won't be able to qualify for the competition. So, I want to make a deal with you. A deal? Yi Fei raised his eyebrows. He had guessed that Lin Tianjiao had come here for many reasons, but he hadn't expected that Lin Tianjiao would want to make a deal with him. Yi Fei found this interesting and nodded. Sure, what deal do you want to make? I want to sell you a secret technique that will be very useful to you. It depends on what price you are willing to pay. Lin Tianjiao took out a yellowed book and handed it over. Yi Fei took it curiously and couldn't help but be shocked. Eye of Thunder Punishment? Lin Tianjiao, are you crazy? Isn't this your secret technique? Eye of Thunder Punishment was Lin Tianjiao's strongest secret technique. Back in the North region, Yi Fei had seen Lin Tianjiao use it when he battled with him. It was said that the Eye of Thunder Punishment could see through the opponent's flaws. At that time, Yi Fei had no choice but to use a suicidal fist technique like the Killer Apotheosis Realm Empty-Handed Fist to force Lin Tianjiao back. Yi Fei had never thought that Lin Tianjiao would sell such an absolute art, and even sell it to his former opponent. Crazy? Maybe, but I'm much calmer than a lunatic who rushed into the Jade Fragrance brothel. Besides, if I want to break through quickly, I need a large number of sage bones or demon souls. Only then can I suppress my inner demons. Lin Tianjiao was very calm. He looked at Yi Fei meaningfully. Yi Fei smiled bitterly. He knew that with Lin Tianjiao's intelligence, he probably already knew that he was the one who helped him. But Lin Tianjiao was too proud. His pride didn't allow him to bow down to Yi Fei to express his gratitude, so he used another method to express his gratitude. The Eye of Lightning Punishment was Lin Tianjiao's way of thanking Yi Fei. Otherwise, Lin Tianjiao wouldn't have been able to subdue the 9th prince even after being forced into a beggar. How could Lin Tianjiao hand over such a secret technique to someone else? He couldn't give it to anyone else, but Lin Tianjiao was willing to give it to Yi Fei. Yi Fei held onto the yellowed pages with mixed feelings. He understood that Lin Tianjiao had become a beggar in order to protect this mystic art. However, he also knew that the Eye of Thunder Punishment represented Lin Tianjiao's unspeakable gratitude. Sometimes you don't need to express your gratitude out loud. I know. That's enough. At this moment, if he were to reject the deal, it would mean that he was rejecting this proud youth's gratitude. Could he refuse? Holding the thin page in his hand, Yi Fei could clearly feel its weight. I'll take this mystic art. You can have these spirit stones and monster souls. Since it was impossible for him to make a breakthrough to the half-saint realm in a short period of time, Yi Fei gritted his teeth and took out half of his high-tier spirit stones and Yao souls. He stuffed them all into his spatial belt and gave them to Lin Tianjiao. Cherish the Eye of Thunder Punishment. Lin Tianjiao didn't even look at how much Yi Fei had given him. His purpose in coming here was to repay Yi Fei's favor. Even if Yi Fei didn't give him anything, Lin Tianjiao wouldn't complain. I'll cherish it. Yi Fei's expression was solemn. Goodbye. Take care. Lin Tianjiao didn't say anything else. He took the space belt and left. Yi Fei didn't ask him to stay. With Lin Tianjiao's talent, he would quickly rise again once he regained his freedom. However, the Eye of Thunder punishment mystic art aroused Yi Fei's strong interest. Xia Jun was still cultivating in seclusion. It was impossible for him to break through to the half-saint realm in a short period of time. Yi Fei simply returned to his room and began to study the newly obtained Eye of Thunder punishment. An hour passed. 4 hours passed. A day passed just like that. The difficulty of comprehending the Eye of Thunder punishment was beyond Yi Fei's imagination. In the end, he had no choice but to use the undying sword soul to increase his comprehension ability before he could fully comprehend the Eye of Thunder punishment. Oh my God, this Eye of Thunder punishment is actually the Desolate Emperor's secret art. Could it be that the Lin family of the North region is actually the descendant of the Desolate Emperor? Otherwise, how could they have kept such a martial art? Yi Fei sucked in a breath of cold air. After fully comprehending the Eye of Thunder punishment, Yi Fei realized that this wasn't a secret art at all, but a complete emperor's secret art. In the North region, the most famous person was the great Emperor Wang Qing. He cultivated the grand, unruffled emotions way and created the glory of the North region. However, before the great Emperor Wang Qing, there was an even more ancient martial emperor in the North region. This person was titled the Desolate Emperor. Legend had it that the Desolate Emperor cultivated the way of thunder. He also had a pair of eyes of thunder that could destroy everything and see through all the falsehoods in the world. However, the Desolate Emperor was too far away from the present day. It was so far away that many ancient families in the North region had forgotten about the legend of the Desolate Emperor. Yi Fei only knew about the Desolate Emperor's existence because he had read an ancient book by chance. At the same time, the Eye of Thunder punishment was the foundation of cultivating the Eye of Thunder. According to Yi Fei's understanding, as long as he learned the Eye of Thunder punishment mystic art, he could continuously improve the power of the Eye of Thunder punishment through the refinement of thunder until it turned into a real Eye of Thunder. Then, he would have the same mysterious power as the Desolate Emperor that could see through all the falsehoods in the world. What a great Eye of Thunder punishment! What a great Desolate Emperor! No wonder the 9th Prince wanted to obtain it at all costs. Lin Tianjiao, you have given me a great gift. Yi Fei smiled bitterly. According to the value of the Eye of Thunder punishment, not to mention half of Lin Tianjiao's superior-grade spirit stones and fiend souls, even if all of Yi Fei's spirit stones and fiend souls were taken out, it would not be worth even 1% of the Eye of Thunder punishment's value. In the Tianwu continent, martial emperors' martial techniques were widely spread. However, martial emperors' ultimate techniques were not spread because they represented the essence of the martial emperor's life. Why were the 4 great sacred courtyards and the quasi-emperor noble clans revered by countless people in the Middle State? It was because every sacred courtyard had at least one martial emperor's ultimate technique. Even if one could not break through to martial emperor after mastering such an ultimate technique, to a certain extent, a martial emperor's ultimate technique represented invincibility among those below martial emperor. I originally wanted to help Lin Tianjiao in secret. I even gave him extra spirit stones. Unexpectedly, this caused Lin Tianjiao to suffer a great loss. It looks like I can only find an opportunity to compensate Brother Lin in the future. Yi Fei sighed somewhat gloomily. Then, he started cultivating the Eye of Thunder punishment. In the cheapest inn in the imperial capital, Lin Tianjiao was dumbfounded as he looked at the items that poured out of his spatial belt. 500 million superior-grade spirit stones? 3,000 fiend souls? Originally, I thought that by giving the Eye of Thunder punishment to Yi Fei, I would be able to repay his favor. Now, it looks like the favor he owes him is getting bigger and bigger. Lin Tianjiao felt a lot of pressure. Although he knew that Yi Fei was loyal and righteous, when he saw such a huge amount of wealth in front of him, Lin Tianjiao still felt that Yi Fei had helped him greatly and deeply. Chapter 965. In the imperial palace, Beilizhen didn't look for trouble with Yi Fei immediately after he entered the capital. Instead, he stayed in the most luxurious inn in the capital and announced that he was going to cultivate in seclusion. This disappointed many warriors who were looking forward to watching the battle between Beilizhen and Yi Fei. Yi Fei also received the news that Beilizhen had entered the capital. However, he didn't understand what Beilizhen was up to. Could it be that he doesn't want to attack me directly because this is the capital? If that's the case, I can have some peace for a while. The cultivation of the Eye of Thunder technique was more difficult than Yi Fei had imagined. After all, it was Emperor Huang's unique skill. The fact that Lin Tianjiao could cultivate it should have something to do with the thin bloodline of Emperor Huang in his body. Yi Fei did not possess the desolate emperor's bloodline. Thus, the only thing he could do was to follow the requirements of the Eye of Lightning punishment and slowly cultivate the secret technique. At that moment, he did not have the time to fight against Beilizhen. Humph, I'll let Beilizhen live for a while longer. Yi Fei thought coldly. He closed his eyes and started cultivating again. In the most luxurious inn in the capital, Beilizhen snorted coldly. Yi Fei, you are lucky. Coincidentally, I am about to break through. I'll let you live for a while longer. As the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list approached, the bustling capital suddenly quietened down. However, this was only the calm before the storm. Once the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list started, there would be a huge commotion in the capital. All the warriors started cultivating in seclusion for this moment. They were conserving their energy for the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list battle. Even the foppish young masters in the capital walked carefully. They were afraid that they would offend the super experts who had come to the capital. The days were unprecedentedly peaceful. Yi Fei wasn't very satisfied with the cultivation speed of the Eye of Thunder punishment. Thunder punishment, thunder punishment. This unique skill can only be cultivated completely in the midst of thunder and lightning. The current me can only barely condense it. A month later, Yi Fei stopped cultivating. Although he had yet to fully cultivate the Eye of Thunder punishment, he could already use the initial stages of this secret technique. With a thought, a vertical eye made of lightning suddenly appeared on his forehead. He looked around, and everything around him became visible to the naked eye. He saw a mosquito fly past, stirring up dust in the air. He saw an ant running, leaving footprints on the ground. He could even see tiny holes in the smooth painted surfaces of the tables and chairs. Minute subtlety. This was what Yi Fei saw after he cultivated the Eye of Lightning punishment. Then, the lightning vertical eye on his forehead disappeared, and the scenery returned to normal. Footsteps could be heard outside the door again, followed by Xia Jun's complacent laughter. My complacent laughter, my complacent laughter. I, Xia Jun, am indeed a genius. Brother, I've reached Earth Profound 10th level. I feel like I'm going to be invincible. A big drop of sweat suddenly appeared on Yi Fei's forehead. Earth Profound 10th level, and he wanted to be invincible? Could it be that this Xia Jun had gone berserk during his cultivation and was possessed by his inner demons? He had to give him a good beating. Therefore, Yi Fei quickly walked out and hooked his finger at Xia Jun, saying, "You're invincible? Then why don't you attack me?" "Brother, don't. I'm only going to be invincible. Isn't this still a little bit away? Oh right, there's a eunuch outside looking for you. Brother, you won't cause any trouble, right?" Before Xia Jun went into seclusion, he knew that Yi Fei was going to Jade Fragrance Brothel to cause trouble. Eunuch? Yi Fei frowned. He had already seen a middle-aged man coming up from downstairs. The man had a fair complexion and no beard. It was obvious that he was from the palace. The moment he came up, he bowed to Yi Fei and said, "You must be Yi Fei, young master Yi. Greetings." The eunuch's attitude was filled with respect. The status of super geniuses was very special in the empire. Their status was even higher than the prince's. Seeing the attitude of the eunuch, Yi Fei could only return the greeting politely. "I'm Yi Fei. Is there anything I can help you with?" The eunuch smiled and cupped his hands. "Congratulations, young Master Yi. You've already entered the Emperor's heart. The Emperor has summoned young Master Yi to enter the palace for an audience. Young Master, please set off." "What? The Snow Wind Emperor wants to see my brother?" Xia Jun was shocked. After all, that was a half-emperor. He couldn't help but give Yi Fei a look, asking Yi Fei if something big had happened. Yi Fei rolled his eyes. If the imperial family wanted to deal with him, he could still cultivate here quietly for a month. However, since the Snow Wind Emperor suddenly summoned him, Yi Fei still had to ask clearly. He asked, "Eunuch, why did the Emperor summon me to the palace?" "I'm not sure." The eunuch's expression was a bit awkward. He thought for a while and added, "Not only young Master Yi, but all the top 100 experts in the imperial capital, including Bailey Zhen, have received the summons. Everyone must go to the palace. Young Master Yi, please don't make things difficult for me." "Bailey Zhen will also go?" Yi Fei and Xia Jun's expression changed. Then Yi Fei sneered and nodded. He came at the right time. "It's time to meet him. I'll have to trouble eunuch to lead the way. Xia Jun, let's go meet this Bailey Zhen." "All right, big brother. Whether we can vent our anger this time, it's all up to you." Xia Jun nodded in a deep voice. There was a flash of anger in his eyes. One must know that ever since he and Yi Fei met Bailey Zhen in the Xiexio Sea, they were chased around by Bailey Zhen like dogs. It was fine if they didn't have the strength in the past. But now that they had the strength, they had to settle this debt. When they arrived at the palace, Yi Fei discovered that many young cultivators had already gathered. They were all the top 100 young geniuses in the Snow Wind Empire. Jiang Qing was also there. When he saw Yi Fei, he smiled and nodded at Yi Fei. Not far away, Lin Ying looked at Yi Fei with resentment. As the number 2 genius of the Royal Wind City, as well as having a grandfather who was a martial saint, Lin Ying actually managed to rank within the top 100 of the Snow Wind Empire. Unfortunately, Lin Ying didn't even have the qualifications to be Yi Fei's opponent. They had also received the summons, but they could only walk. Yi Fei had a eunuch leading the way. The difference in status between the two was very obvious. In the Northern Wind Royal City, Lin Ying and Jiang Qing were the two most dazzling geniuses. However, in the imperial capital, their radiance was much dimmer. On the other hand, Yi Fei attracted the attention of countless people as soon as he entered the imperial palace. He's Yi Fei. He's the super genius who defeated the 5 great geniuses without even making a move. I heard that a group of princesses and daughters fought over young Master Ye's favor in the Jade Fragrance House. These people looked at Yi Fei with envy. The most envious person was Xia Jun. His eyes were red like rabbit. What? There are actually beauties fighting over Big Brother? Damn it, why don't they come for me? I don't reject anyone. Xia Jun's heart was almost roaring with rage. However, no one paid attention to him. Yi Fei turned his head and looked at the other side of the palace. There, another eunuch was leading the way. Behind the eunuch was a young man wearing a blue flame robe. His body was burning with demonic flames as he strode over. It's Bailey Zhen. Bailey Zhen is here too. Chapter 966. The young Emperor Yi Fei took a closer look. Xue Wushang, Jiang Xiaoma, Ning Zhongqin, Huang Feiying, and Chen Wanli, the 5 strongest geniuses of the Snow Wind Empire, could only walk behind Bailey Zhen. It was not that they did not want to surpass Bailey Zhen, but the pressure from Beilizhen's body was too strong. It was so strong that they had no way to surpass him. They could only helplessly follow behind him like a group of followers. They were completely reduced to a contrast. Beilizhen is still as strong as before. So what if he's strong? That's Beilizhen, the only one with a special bloodline in our Snow-Wind Empire. It's been a few years since we last met. Beilizhen's pressure has become stronger. I wonder who's stronger between him and Yi Fei. Who's the strongest in our Snow-Wind Empire? Many martial artists sighed and unconsciously looked at Yi Fei. Yi Fei. Beilizhen also saw Yi Fei. When he saw that Yi Fei had a eunuch leading the way, his eyes flashed with disdain. I didn't expect a mortal like you to be on par with me. Unfortunately, in my eyes, you're still no match for me. I've never treated a dead person as an opponent. Yi Fei's tone was indifferent. There was a hint of provocation in his words. He thought that Beilizhen would be angry. Hearing this, Beilizhen laughed disdainfully. You want to kill me? How can a mortal like you dream of killing a god? Yi Fei, you're too arrogant. You're not worthy to be my opponent. Enjoy the rest of your life. I don't have time for you today. After saying that, Beilizhen no longer paid attention to Yi Fei. His eyes passed through the layers of the palace and finally landed in front of the palace, in front of a huge teleportation array. At this moment, the teleportation array was emitting a bright light. Then, a group of people slowly walked out of the teleportation array. The person in the lead was dressed in a dragon robe. He was very young and did not give off the slightest bit of pressure. However, when he appeared, the surrounding warriors all held their breaths and looked at the young man in the dragon robe with shock and fear in their eyes. Yi Fei was surprised to find that the moment Beilizhen saw the young man, a strong fighting spirit suddenly appeared on his body. Fist Emperor. It's the Fist Emperor. I thought that he would stop after challenging 100 empires, but he still came to our Snow-Wind Empire. No wonder His Majesty gathered all of us here to welcome the Fist Emperor, Dongfang Yu. The martial artists of the Snow-Wind Empire collectively sucked in a breath of cold air. Then, they all revealed respectful expressions, including Shui Wushang and Jiang Xiaoma. This was because the person who had come was none other than a young martial emperor. He was destined to become a powerful martial emperor in the future. The Fist Emperor. Is this the young emperor of Zhongzhou? Yi Fei was very surprised. He finally understood why Beilizhen did not care about him. It was because he had a more important target, the Fist Emperor. Dongfang Yu is the young emperor of Zhongzhou. Since he started to challenge the empires, none of the strongest geniuses of the empire could withstand a single punch from him. Last month, Dongfang Yu defeated the strongest king of the Blackmarsh Empire with a single punch, completing the feat of killing 100 people and officially becoming the Fist Emperor. When His Majesty heard this news, he invited Dongfang Yu over to show us the power of an emperor. Jiang Qing quietly walked over and explained to Yi Fei in a low voice. Then, Beilizhen's thunderous voice resounded both inside and outside the palace. Without any pleasantries, Beilizhen directly walked over. A strong fighting spirit appeared on his body as he said, "Fist Emperor, I, Beilizhen, want to challenge you." Boom! Beilizhen's words shook the entire imperial palace. Countless martial artists looked at Beilizhen with shocked eyes. This Beilizhen is too presumptuous. The Fist Emperor is an important guest that we invited with great difficulty. How dare he challenge him as soon as he sees him? Countless civil and military officials of the Snow-Wind Empire had gathered in the main hall of the palace. When they heard Beilizhen's words, many of their faces changed. Only Jiang Qianren's eyes flashed with admiration. He nodded and said, "The kid from the Bailey family has a strong fighting spirit. However, this is also His Majesty's goal. Without experiencing the wind and snow, even a genius with a special bloodline will find it hard to grow." His Majesty invited Dongfang Yu over to let the warriors of the Snow Wind Empire know how strong a true genius is. Dongfang Yu, since Beili Zhen wants to challenge you, why don't you give him some pointers? Jiang Qianren stepped out of the main hall and appeared on the martial arts field of the palace. This was an arrangement that he had made long ago. Greetings to the Emperor. Seeing Jiang Qianren appear, all the warriors present knelt down and paid their respects. Only 3 people remained motionless in front of the Snow Wind Emperor. One was Dongfang Yu. The other was Beili Zhen. Of course, there was also Yi Fei. Everyone could understand why Dongfang Yu didn't kneel. They could also understand why Beili Zhen didn't kneel. However, Yi Fei didn't kneel. What was the meaning of this? Yi Fei, in front of the Emperor, how dare you not kneel? Beside Jiang Qianren, an old eunuch of the 10th level of the martial saint realm walked out. His angry rebuke made many warriors break out in cold sweat for Yi Fei. Yi Fei lightly shook his head. I'm not from the Snow Wind Empire. Why should I kneel? The old eunuch was stunned. He didn't expect Yi Fei to say this. Beili Zhen was stunned. Then, a cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He thought that Yi Fei was overestimating himself. An interesting person. Unfortunately, his strength is too low. Dongfang Yu looked at Yi Fei in surprise. Then, he no longer paid attention to him. In the end, he was still a young emperor. His pursuit was obviously different from the majority of the people present. The Snow Wind Emperor also looked deeply at Yi Fei. He slightly nodded and said, "That's right. You're a foreign warrior. You're still not a subject of my Snow Wind Empire. It's understandable that you don't kneel." "Wait, Your Majesty. I'm also not a subject of the Snow Wind Empire. I won't kneel." Seeing that Yi Fei didn't kneel, but he knelt, Xia Jun suddenly felt that he had suffered a loss. He hurriedly stood up. The old eunuch's eyes were filled with killing intent. Jiang Qianren was very magnanimous. He waved his hand and said, "If you don't kneel, then don't kneel. You're all the strongest geniuses of my Snow Wind Empire. I don't ask you to kneel. I only ask you to become stronger and spread the might of my empire." Spread the might of my empire. We swear allegiance to the Emperor. The warriors who were kneeling all stood up. However, their gazes towards Jiang Qianren were filled with a trace of fanaticism. This was the method of an emperor. In the blink of an eye, he had already won over countless people. Yi Fei also admired Jiang Qianren. He understood that Jiang Qianren was also a very powerful emperor. He was not an ordinary emperor. Jiang Qianren waved his hand to stop everyone's shouting. He looked at Dongfang Yu and said, "Dongfang Yu, Beili Zhen wants to challenge you. Do you agree?" Dongfang Yu nodded. "Since Brother Beili is willing to accept my guidance, then I'll respectfully accept." "What guidance?" Beili Zhen was so angry that he laughed. On his body, a thick battle intent suddenly turned into a raging demonic flame, burning like a hurricane. Ignoring everyone, Beili Zhen directly stepped onto the martial arts practice field that had been prepared in advance. "Dongfang Yu, you'd better use your full strength to fight with me. Otherwise, I'll make you regret it." When Beili Zhen spoke, his eyes flashed with thick killing intent. Chapter 967. One Punch. Beili Zhen's challenge caused the atmosphere of the crowd to boil. On one side was the invincible Fist Emperor, Dongfang Yu, who had defeated 100 empires. On the other side was Beili Zhen, a unique genius who had defeated all 5 of the empire's top geniuses with one hand. Everyone wanted to see who was stronger between the two of them. The Snow Wind Emperor's move had completely ignited the fighting spirit in the martial artists' hearts. Not to mention Beili Zhen, even Xue Wushang, Jiang Xiaomao and the others looked at the Fist Emperor with a trace of provocation. Since Beili Zhen could challenge him, why couldn't they? After all, they were the top geniuses of the Snow Wind Empire. Since they were geniuses, who would be willing to admit defeat so easily? The most leisurely person present was probably Yi Fei. He wasn't a subject of the Snow Wind Empire. The outcome of the battle wouldn't affect him in any way. Therefore, Yi Fei became a bystander. Yi Fei couldn't help but shake his head when he saw Beili Zhen rushing to challenge Dongfang Yu, the Fist Emperor. Putting their strength aside, Dongfang Yu is undoubtedly calmer than Beili Zhen in terms of temperament. After all, Dongfang Yu was a young emperor who had challenged 100 empires. He didn't have any aura around him. Yi Fei felt like he was facing a mountain that he couldn't surpass. On the other hand, although Beili Zhen's demonic flames were terrifying, they couldn't intimidate Yi Fei's spirit. The battle hadn't started yet, but Yi Fei had already seen the difference between the two of them. Xia Jun was standing beside Yi Fei. When he heard Yi Fei's evaluation, he couldn't help but be shocked. No way. Big brother, are you saying that Beili Zhen might lose? Yes, he will definitely lose. Let's see how long he can last under Dongfang Yu's attack. Yi Fei's expression was very serious. The martial artists present all had serious expressions. Jiang Qianren, a half-step emperor, even flew into the sky and set up a defensive light barrier to prevent the battle from spreading. Dongfang Yu, come up and fight with me. On the martial arts field, Beili Zhen's demonic flames were like a torch, burning fiercely and illuminating the entire field. Dongfang Yu's expression remained indifferent from the beginning to the end. It was only after Beili Zhen had repeatedly provoked him that a hint of helplessness flashed across his face. Then, Dongfang Yu also walked onto the martial arts practice field. He cupped his fists towards Beili Zhen and said, "Brother Beili, I came to the Snow Wind Empire to deepen the relationship between our countries. Since you want to fight, let's each use one move to determine the winner. What do you think?" "That's exactly what I was thinking." Beili Zhen nodded. In a battle between experts, one move was enough to determine the winner. Seeing that Dongfang Yu was waiting for him to attack, Beili Zhen's gloomy face couldn't help but reveal a hint of coldness. Boom! As soon as Dongfang Yu finished speaking, Beili Zhen had already made his move. The torch-like demonic flames on his body suddenly turned into a huge fireball. Within the fireball, a huge demonic god appeared behind him. That demonic god had 3 heads and 6 arms. It released demonic flames, and its terrifying demonic might cause the void to tremble violently. Then, it formed a terrifying demonic fist that contained a boundless aura of destruction. He struck forward. 100 demonic taboo. Following Beili Zhen's roar, the huge demonic god behind him roared fiercely towards the sky. Then, the demonic god moved. It had a total of 6 arms, forming 6 terrifying demonic fists that created layers of ripples in the void. Yi Fei's face became more dignified. It had been a while since they last saw each other. Beili Zhen had become more terrifying. At least, when he first fought with Beili Zhen, his 100 demonic taboo was not as powerful as it was now. It could link up with the demonic god. Half-saint, Beili Zhen has become a half-saint, Xue Wushang exclaimed. He was not only afraid of Beili Zhen's demonic fists, but also his strength. When Beili Zhen was at the 7th level of the earth-penetrating realm, he had defeated 5 supreme geniuses with one hand. Now that Beili Zhen had broken through to the half-saint realm, how terrifying would his battle strength be? Beili Zhen has reached the half-saint realm. His battle strength is at least at the level of a young king. Jiang Xiaoma looked dignified. This battle will probably be a fierce battle between 2 giants. Chen Wanli and Huang Feiying were very excited. If Beili Zhen could block Dongfang Yu, then their Snow Wind Empire might also have a young king. Only Ning Zhongchen looked haggard from the beginning to the end. Obviously, he had not recovered from the shock that Yi Fei had given him. A fierce battle between 2 giants? Humph, these people of Snow Wind Empire, what do they think a young king is? Do they think it's so easy to become an emperor? Hearing these discussions, the warriors who had followed Dongfang Yu here all sneered. At the same time, in the arena, Dongfang Yu moved. He still didn't exude any qi, but at the instant he punched out, the entire world seemed to have lost its color. There was only a resplendent fist light, like the scorching sun, tearing apart the dome of heaven, shaking the hearts of everyone. Take my fist, star explosion. Boom. The fist glow that was like a scorching sun suddenly exploded the moment it rose up, forming a terrifying force that could destroy stars. Under this force, half of Bailey Zhen's giant body was blown apart by the fist glow, turning into a stream of light that filled the sky. Then, the fist radiance went through the demon and hit the defensive light curtain that the Snow Wind Emperor had set up. In the end, even the light curtain of the half-emperor was smashed by the fist. A straight light beam smashed the light curtain and created a terrifying vortex in the void, like a black hole. This was Dongfang Yu's fist. This was the young king's fist. Only one fist, and the powerful Bailey Zhen was defeated? Yi Fei could not help but open his eyes wide, but he felt a chill on his back. One fist, only one fist? No, this is impossible. Bailey Zhen's battle strength is comparable to a young king. He can't block Dongfang Yu's fist. Worthy of being called the Fist Emperor. If it's a young king, we still have the courage to challenge him. But facing the young king, we can only feel deep despair. Even though they were all around the same age and cultivation level, the gap between them had been vividly reflected in this punch. This is the Fist Emperor? This is the young king? Bailey Zhen, who had beaten us like dogs, could not even block one fist in front of him? Xia Jun suddenly felt his legs go soft, and he looked at Yi Fei subconsciously. Yi Fei shook his head, and his expression became extremely dignified. If he was right, Dongfang Yu, the Fist Emperor, was only a half-saint. But Dongfang Yu's battle strength was enough to kill Bailey Zhen 100 times. This was the gap between them. The special bloodline was indeed powerful. Chapter 968. Provocation, defeated, I actually lost. Dongfang Yu's punch was a huge blow to Bailey Zhen. In the Snow Wind Empire, he was the strongest genius. Even in other empires with his strength, he was the absolute king. Even so, Bailey Zhen was still defeated. His pride and his conceit were all smashed by Dongfang Yu's punch. Bailey Zhen, your devil flame bloodline is actually very good. Among the 100 geniuses that I've defeated, you're the only one who could force me to use my full strength. If you're not so impetuous and firm, you'll have a chance to catch up with me. Dongfang Yu spoke frankly with assurance, like an elder teaching a junior. He was really teaching Bailey Zhen and pointing out Bailey Zhen's shortcomings. To be honest, Bailey Zhen's special bloodline was also very strong. It had even attracted the attention of the Saint Institute. However, Bailey Zhen's life had been too smooth. With his powerful bloodline, he was invincible in the Snow Wind Empire. This had also developed his arrogant personality. Until he met Dongfang Yu, Bailey Zhen finally understood that there was always someone better than him. Hearing Dongfang Yu's words, Xue Wushang and the others secretly nodded. They could not help but look at Dongfang Yu with admiration. In the central continent there were countless geniuses. It was not difficult to defeat a genius. However, to defeat a genius and convince him at the same time, that was not an ordinary difficulty. However, Dongfang Yu did it. He used one punch and then sincerely taught Bailey Zhen. He won the heartfelt admiration of the 5 great geniuses, including most of the warriors present. Dongfang Yu deserves to be called the young emperor who swept across 100 empires. He deserves this title. Brother Dongfang, my martial arts are stuck and I can't improve. Brother Dongfang, please help me. I like to make friends with straightforward people like Brother Dongfang. If you don't mind, let's have a drink together in the fragrant Shui restaurant. At this time, No one paid attention to the defeated Beilizhen. Many warriors rushed to Dongfang Yu's side with the purpose of making friends with the young emperor, saying all kinds of good things. In the sky, Jiang Qianren sighed. Although he had expected this, the Snow-Wind Emperor's mood was very complicated after seeing the empire's strongest genius being defeated so easily. Beilizhen, you've done well. You've forced Dongfang Yu to use his full strength. You're worthy of being the strongest genius of our empire. Pass down my order. From today on, Beilizhen will be conferred the title of Battle King. If you don't kneel in front of me, I'll bring you to the palace with me. Boom! In the end, Jiang Qianren was the martial emperor of a nation. Jiang Qianren's casual bestowal quickly made the dispirited Beilizhen shine brilliantly again. Countless pairs of envious eyes stared at Beilizhen. This was the treatment of a special genius. Even if Beilizhen couldn't defeat Dongfang Yu, he could force Dongfang Yu to use his full strength. To some extent, this showed Beilizhen's strength. The title of Battle King belongs to Brother Baili. Brother Baili, congratulations! A portion of the young martialists flocked to Beilizhen. In their opinion, Beilizhen's defeat by Dongfang Yu wasn't shameful. On the contrary, the title of Battle King had increased Beilizhen's reputation by a lot. When Beilizhen heard the bestowal, his face was still very ugly. He cupped his fists at Jiang Qianren and said, "Your Majesty, I'm not feeling well. I'll take my leave first." He wasn't in the mood to talk to anyone. He even forgot about Yi Fei. Beilizhen's face was gloomy as he quickly left the palace. He didn't give anyone any face. This startled many martialists. Then, they secretly looked at Jiang Qianren's face. Jiang Qianren smiled indifferently and changed the topic. "Since Beilizhen is not free, I won't force him. Men, set up a banquet. I'll personally entertain Dongfang Yu and the many geniuses of our empire." "Wait a minute, Your Majesty. Although Beilizhen has left, Yi Fei is still here. Perhaps Yi Fei can defeat the King of Fighters. Who knows?" Suddenly, a noise came from the crowd. Yi Fei didn't need to turn his head to know who was making things difficult for him. Lin Ying smiled sinisterly. After saying this, he shrank into the crowd and pretended that he had done nothing. But he had achieved his goal. Only then did the crowd remember that although Beilizhen had been defeated, there was still a young expert who was famous in the imperial capital here. Jiang Qianren also looked at Yi Fei with interest and asked, "Yi Fei, are you confident that you can take a punch from Dongfang Yu?" Dongfang Yu looked at Yi Fei with surprise. Seeing that Yi Fei was not even a half-saint, he couldn't help but be surprised. Was there a second person with a special bloodline in the Snow-Wind Empire besides Beilizhen? "Your Majesty, I'm still capable of taking a punch, but it will consume 90% of my battle strength. After that, I won't be able to fight anymore." Although Yi Fei was a little annoyed by Lin Ying's trick, he decided to tell the truth. "What? Can you really take a punch from Dongfang Yu?" Jiang Qianren was just joking. He didn't expect to get such an answer. For the first time, he began to seriously size up Yi Fei. Then, Jiang Qianren suddenly realized something and nodded slightly. Xue Wushang and the others also looked at Yi Fei in shock. Even Beilizhen couldn't take a punch from the Fist Emperor. What Yi Fei said is true. Can you really take it? Don't joke around. After all, Dongfang Yu was right in front of them. A young emperor couldn't be ridiculed casually. To some extent, Dongfang Yu was on the same level as the Snow-Wind Emperor. "Humph, if my big brother says he can, then he can. Believe it or not, it's up to you." Before Yi Fei said anything, Xia Jun had already retorted bluntly. This made Xue Wushang's face extremely ugly. Of course, they knew that Yi Fei wouldn't make such a joke in front of a half-step emperor. What a bunch of nonsense! Just some random Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to challenge the young emperor? Are all the Snow-Wind Empire's martial artists so ignorant? Dongfang Yu also didn't finish his words, but a tall and sturdy young man had already walked out from among the warriors accompanying him. The young man was 2 meters tall. At this moment, he was glaring at Yi Fei and all the warriors of the Snow Wind Empire. "I'm Ma Shi-san. I'm here to ask for advice. Boy, didn't you want to challenge our young emperor? If you have the guts, take a punch from me first." "What, he's Ma Shi-san? The one who once challenged the 10 empires and lost all 9 battles. The strongest young heaven's pride of the Black Marsh Empire," Jiang Qing suddenly exclaimed. Then, Shui Wushang and the others also exclaimed. Because Dongfang Yu was too dazzling, they automatically ignored the group of warriors following him. This group of warriors was actually the strongest heaven's pride of the nearby empires. Chapter 969. First Sword. No one had expected that Ma Shi-san would be among Dongfang Yu's followers. Many warriors were gloating over Yi Fei's misfortune, but they couldn't help glaring at Lin Ying, who instigated Yi Fei to fight. After all, Bai Lizhen had already lost a battle. Fortunately, his opponent was the Fist Emperor, Dongfang Yu. Even if Bai Lizhen lost, it wouldn't affect the Snow Wind Empire much. But if Yi Fei lost to Ma Shi-san, the Snow Wind Empire would be humiliated as well. Lin Ying wasn't an idiot. Of course, he understood this. He suddenly regretted that he didn't dare to provoke Yi Fei now. It would be fine if Yi Fei won. But if he lost, the empire would lose face. Not only would Yi Fei be in trouble, the person who instigated him would also be in trouble. "Your Majesty, what do you think?" The old eunuch looked at Lin Ying with a cold gaze. Jiang Qianren also glared at Lin Ying. He was very hesitant. Although he heard that Yi Fei had defeated the 5 great sky prides, he had never seen Yi Fei fight personally. Jiang Qianren was still hesitant about who was stronger between Yi Fei and Bai Lizhen. But Ma Shi-san wouldn't give Yi Fei a chance to refuse. He wasn't from the Snow Wind Empire, so he naturally wouldn't be afraid of offending the Snow Wind Emperor. Boom! Like a huge rock falling, Ma Shi-san jumped onto the stage. This also meant that this matter was completely out of control. The Snow Wind Empire couldn't refuse the challenge even if they wanted to. For a moment, many people were cursing Lin Ying in their hearts. As the Snow Wind Emperor, Jiang Qianren was able to keep his composure. He looked at Yi Fei with a solemn face and said, "Yi Fei, are you willing to fight on behalf of the Snow Wind Empire?" Jiang Qianren also kept an eye on this. Since Yi Fei wasn't from the Snow Wind Empire, if Yi Fei refused to fight, no one would be able to find fault with him. "Your Majesty, I think we should forget about it. He is no match for me." Yi Fei shook his head. He did not have the desire to fight. Moreover, even if he defeated Ma Shi-san, he could only block 1 punch from Dongfang Yu. That would be a blow to his confidence. "What? Brat, what did you say? I dare you to say it again." In the arena, Ma Shi-san was glaring like a Vajra. He held his axe and rushed down from the arena towards Yi Fei. "How dare you? How dare you spout such nonsense? What did you say? You'd better watch your mouth." Yi Fei was furious. What he had said was the truth. Ma Shi-san was just insulting him. Yi Fei did not want to cause trouble, but that did not mean that he was afraid of trouble. Boom! Before Ma Shi-san could rush forward with his axe, Yi Fei's body was already flickering with a blazing purple-gold glow. Finally, this glow turned into a purple-gold sword aura that shot forward quickly. "Since you don't know what's good for you, take my sword." "Don't talk about taking 1 sword. I can even take 10,000 of your sword strikes." "Kill." Whirlwind Axe Strike. Ma Shi-san waved his axe like a warrior on the battlefield or vicious beasts in the forest. As soon as the axe was raised, Ma Shi-san went berserk. He and his axe became one. Suddenly, a huge axe appeared in the sky. It brought along an endless whirlwind as it chopped down. Then, it spun and chopped down again. Then, the 3rd chop, the 4th chop. Every time the axe spun, the pressure from the sky became stronger. When the number of spins accumulated to 13. Rumble! Even the sky could not withstand the crazy spinning power of the huge axe and began to collapse. 13-fold strike. That is Ma Shi-san's strongest 13-fold strike. The strongest genius of the 9 great empires was defeated by this move of Ma Shi-san. It is a 13-fold strike. Yi Fei only released a purple-gold sword radiance. How can he withstand it? Many martial artists of the Snow Wind Empire shook their heads and sighed. Linning was so happy that he wanted to laugh out loud. He took pleasure in Yi Fei's misfortune and whispered to himself, Yi Fei, you will also have this day. You offended a super genius like Ma Shi-san. Let's see if your reputation will be ruined this time. Rumble. Suddenly, there was an ear-piercing sound that caused Lin Ying's eardrums to hurt. Many people could not help but cover their ears as they looked at the scene in the sky in shock. A purple-gold sword radiance not only shattered Ma Shi-san's strongest 13-fold strike, it also pierced a bloody hole in Ma Shi-san's emperor weapon giant axe. What? Ma Shi-san screamed in agony. He was forced out of the fusion with his axe. Then, he fell down from the sky. Ma Shi-san fell on the ground and saw that his imperial weapon, the gigantic axe, had been crushed by the purple-gold sword Qi. Ma Shi-san was so angry that his head was dizzy. He could not catch his breath and fainted from anger. In any case, he was a super genius who had defeated the 9 great empires. In the end, Yi Fei's casual strike had seriously injured Ma Shi-san and even shattered his emperor weapon. I have already said that you are not my match. Yi Fei sighed. He was not being sarcastic. He was just stating a fact. However, Ma Shi-san did not believe him. What could he do? Your Majesty, I am not feeling well. I will take my leave. Yi Fei clasped his hands. Bailey Zhen had already retreated, and he had seen how terrifying the young emperor was. There was no point for him to stay any longer. If I have the time, I might as well cultivate for a few more days. Yi Fei brought Xia Jun and left the palace. From the beginning to the end, everyone was looking at Yi Fei silently. They did not make any sound. Interesting. If it is him, he might be able to take a full blow from me. Dongfang Yu looked at Yi Fei's back. His expression was still indifferent, but his eyes had become serious. This was the second time that Dongfang Yu had evaluated someone so seriously since he came to the imperial capital. Hearing this evaluation, the people present suddenly woke up. What a powerful and fast sword! I did not even have time to react, and Ma Shi-san was seriously injured and fainted. This Yi Fei can definitely fight with Bailey Zhen. Maybe he is also a genius with a special bloodline. 2 geniuses with special bloodlines. It seems that the Snow Wind Empire will be proud of this heavenless supreme battle. The warriors of the Snow Wind Empire suddenly became excited. In the last few heavenless supreme battle, the Snow Wind Empire had been suppressed because there were too few special geniuses in the Snow Wind Empire, and they were too weak. However, it was different now. They had Bailey Zhen and Yi Fei. Even Jiang Qianren couldn't help but reveal a look of joy on his face. As the ruler of a country, why would he tolerate Bailey Zhen coming and going as he pleased? Why would he welcome Dongfang Yu so grandly? It was all for the heavenless supremacy battle. Due to the suppression of the 4 sacred academies, the empires of the central region rarely fought with each other. Most of the time, the super geniuses represented the strength of an empire. As long as the super geniuses cultivated by an empire obtained a good ranking in the heavenless supreme battle, the empire would also benefit from it. However, in the past 100 years, the geniuses of the Snow Wind Empire had declined and were constantly suppressed by other empires. If this continued, the Snow Wind Empire might even be destroyed. Jiang Qianren was even more depressed because of this. It was only when Bailey Zhen and Yi Fei appeared at the same time that Jiang Qianren saw a glimmer of hope to protect his empire. In a good mood, Jiang Qianren simply announced another order. Men, pass on my order. Yi Fei showed the might of our empire and defeated Ma Shi-san. I am very pleased. I hereby confer upon Yi Fei the title of Sword King. If he does not kneel before me, he will be brought to the palace with his sword. What? Sword King? Before the Snow Wind Emperor could finish his order, Lin Ying, who was in the crowd, was so angry that his chest was about to explode. He did not hesitate to provoke Yi Fei in public. He wanted to destroy Yi Fei's reputation. Chapter 970. Earth List Assessment. What? The Snow Wind Emperor bestowed me the title of Sword King? Not long after Yi Fei left the palace, Jiang Qianren's reward arrived. Yi Fei was depressed. He had done nothing and he had become a subject of the Snow Wind Empire. Coincidentally, his title in the Snow Wind Empire was still the Sword King. The Snow Wind Emperor had even ordered someone to bestow Yi Fei a Sword King mansion. Of course, since Yi Fei had received such treatment, Bailey Zhen's treatment wouldn't be bad either. The Heaven List Supreme Battle hadn't started yet and there were already 2 super geniuses in the Snow Wind Empire who had been bestowed the title of king at the same time. This was something that had never happened in the imperial capital. When the news spread, countless warriors were in an uproar. Yi Fei's fame had also reached its peak in the imperial capital. After all, the king of fighters had personally evaluated him. This added a layer of mystery to Yi Fei. However, Yi Fei would rather not have the title of Sword King. He had no intention of staying in the Snow Wind Empire. Unfortunately, the reward from the Snow Wind Emperor had already been bestowed. The reward from a half-emperor was not something that Yi Fei could refuse just because he said so. He could only accept the identity token that represented the Sword King from the eunuch. Then, he moved into the newly established Sword King mansion with Xia Jun. It was undeniable that the Snow Wind Emperor valued Yi Fei greatly. Not only did he free up a first-class mansion for the Sword King mansion within a day, but he also provided all the maids and servants that he needed. There were even 10 guards of the 3rd level of the Martial Lord realm at the entrance, guarding the door of the prince's residence. Inside the prince's residence, there were also 10 beautiful maids who served Yi Fei's daily needs at all times. Seeing that, the Xia army's saliva even splashed 3,000 feet. Big brother, why don't we stop cultivating during this period of time and enjoy ourselves? Xia Jun suggested seriously. Yi Fei didn't even bother to ask. He knew what Xia Jun was thinking. He kicked Xia Jun and said, "Get lost. The Heaven and Earth Supreme Battle is about to start. You still have time to enjoy yourself? Send all the maids and guards back." On the path of martial arts, one had to be undistracted and move forward with indomitable will. The wealth before him wasn't what Yi Fei was after. After saying that, he walked into the cultivation room of the Sword King mansion and continued cultivating. During the battle in the Imperial Palace, Yi Fei felt a huge pressure from Dongfang Yu. With my current strength, I can still put up a fight against a young king warrior. However, the gap between me and a young emperor warrior is still too big. I have to work harder to catch up with these true geniuses. Continue cultivating the Eye of Lightning punishment. Jiang Qianren was only trying to test Yi Fei. Seeing that Yi Fei didn't accept the gifts, Jiang Qianren wasn't angry. Instead, he nodded to the Beast King and said, "This Yi Fei, it's rare for him to not be tempted by wealth and beauty. How can the son-in-law that I value be weak?" The Beast King was proud of himself. Fatty stood behind the Beast King and pouted. His brother didn't agree to the marriage. However, the Beast King didn't care about these details. After all, the marriage certificate was still in his hands. No matter what the Beast King said, he was right. Yi Fei didn't know that the Beast King had come to the imperial capital. Otherwise, he wouldn't be cultivating. He would be looking for the Beast King to settle the score. Although Bailey Zhen was defeated by Yu Rong and didn't defeat Dongfang Yu, he had forced Dongfang Yu to use all his strength. Once the Battle King Mansion was established, many nobles from the imperial capital came to pay their respects. Compared to Yi Fei, who was a rogue cultivator from the outer sea, the Bailey family was a big family in the Snow Wind Empire. At this moment, many people came to curry favor with Bailey Zhen, giving him all kinds of generous gifts. Bailey Zhen accepted the gifts, but he didn't see anyone. The news of Yi Fei being conferred the title of king shocked Bailey Zhen. Sword King, what is the Snow Wind Emperor doing? How can he let a mortal be on the same level as a special genius like me? And that Dongfang Yu, he actually said that Yi Fei could block his punch. Even I couldn't block it. How could he, a mere mortal, block it? Bailey Zhen subconsciously thought that Dongfang Yu was just giving face to the Snow Wind Emperor. Even so, Bailey Zhen was still very unhappy. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He raised his head and looked at the sky above the Beast King Mansion. Mortal, I won't give you another chance to grow. I will kill you personally in the Earth List assessment. I will let the world know that you are not worthy to be on the same level as me. In the most remote inn in the imperial capital. What? Yi Fei was conferred the title of Sword King? He even defeated the young king who came to challenge him? Lin Tianjiao was shocked when he heard the discussions of the crowd when he came out to eat. Lin Tianjiao had been in the central province for more than a year. He knew what kind of people the young king was. Although he knew that Yi Fei had always been strong, Lin Tianjiao didn't expect that Yi Fei would reach such a terrifying level in just a few years. No wonder he is the only sage king of the north who has inherited the 6 sacred sects. It seems that I have to work hard. Even if I can't surpass him, I can at least catch up with him. Lin Tianjiao was very proud. The training in the central province had made him proud. He was no longer arrogant, but courageous. Lin Tianjiao didn't even eat. He returned to his room and continued to cultivate. A month passed quickly in the hustle and bustle of the imperial capital. In the blink of an eye, Yi Fei had been in the central province for 2 years. Yi Fei had undoubtedly grown a lot. He had also matured a lot. Suddenly, a loud bell rang from the direction of the imperial palace. It resounded throughout the imperial capital and woke up all the cultivators who were still immersed in cultivation. In the warlord mansion, Bailey Zhen opened his eyes. The demonic flame on his body was even more terrifying. It was like the 9 serenities hell. One look at it and people would be unable to extricate themselves. After a month of cultivation, I finally got rid of the influence of Dongfang Yu's punch. Dongfang Yu, I may not be as good as you young emperors now, but my bloodline still has great potential. Once this potential is stimulated, I will definitely embark on the path of becoming an emperor. The next time I meet you, I will not be defeated again. Boom. The demonic flame on his body disappeared completely. Bailey Zhen was no longer as arrogant as before. However, the invisible aura he emitted was even more daunting than before. Yes, Bailey Zhen had improved. One failure couldn't defeat him. Instead, it stimulated him to improve even more crazily. Creak. In the inn, Lin Tianjiao pushed open the door with heavy step. With every step he took, the ground would tremble. In a month's time, I, Lin Tianjiao, have finally broken through from LV-10 Martial King realm to LV-3 Earth Thorough realm. Although my realm isn't stable yet, I must participate in the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking. This may be my only chance to catch up with Yi Fei. Chapter 971. The 4 Sacred Courts. Just like Lin Tianjiao, Jiang Qing, Lin Ying and many other warriors of the Snow Wind Empire quickly left their cultivation rooms and gathered in the direction of the imperial palace. Sword King Manor. Xia Jun shouted, "Big brother, come out quickly. I've finally comprehended the heavenly blade art in this month. I feel like I'm invincible." "Is that so? Shall we spar?" Yi Fei walked out and beckoned Xia Jun with his finger. Xia Jun immediately waved his hand and said, "Don't, I'm talking about being invincible. There's still a long way to go." "Oh right, big brother, what's up with that vertical eye on your forehead?" Xia Jun had never seen Yi Fei use such a secret technique before. Yi Fei realized that he had been too focused on cultivating the eye of lightning punishment that he had forgotten to close his vertical eye. After all, activating the eye of lightning punishment required a large amount of true origin energy. After about an hour, Yi Fei and Xia Jun finally arrived at the palace. There was already a sea of people there. Just the number of supreme experts was around 70 to 80,000 people. Without exception, all of them were young cultivators below the age of 40. According to the rules of the sacred court, only cultivators below the age of 40 had the qualifications to enter the sacred court to cultivate. With so many people gathered together, they naturally had their own small circles. When Yi Fei arrived, he saw someone waving at him. It was Jiang Qing. He was squeezed into the crowd, and beside him were many young cultivators from the Royal Wind City. After all, Yi Fei and Xia Jun had both registered in the Royal Wind City. Yi Fei had no reason to not represent the Royal Wind City. The two of them walked over together. "Brother Jiang. Brother Yi. Brother Xia. Hello, Sword King." Besides Jiang Qing, the other young martial artists of Royal Wind City, such as Jiang Fan and Yu Rang, were all extremely respectful towards Yi Fei. This was the benefit of strength. With Yi Fei's status as a Sword King, even Jiang Qing had to look up to him. What was strange was that Lin Ying wasn't in the Royal Wind City's circle. Instead, she was in a small circle in a neighboring royal city. She stared at Yi Fei with eyes filled with hatred. Little did he know that Yi Fei and Jiang Qing had already noticed him. Jiang Qing sneered and said, "Brother Yi, Lin Ying is a narrow-minded person. Last time in the palace, he was the one who instigated discord and wanted to harm you. It seems that after being taught a lesson, he still hasn't given up his evil intentions." "Humph, he's just a clown. It's fine if he doesn't cause trouble, but if he dares to provoke us, there's no need for Big Brother to do anything. I'll kill him with a single slash," Xia Jun said in an imposing manner. Jiang Qing looked at Xia Jun and then at Yi Fei in surprise. Yi Fei nodded slightly and said, "Xia Jun only needs one slash." After all, Lin Ying's strongest technique was the heavenly blade art, and it was only half of it. However, Xia Jun had the complete heavenly blade art, and he had even fully comprehended it. Lin Ying was naturally no match for Xia Jun. With Yi Fei's current realm, he didn't need to treat Lin Ying as an opponent. His opponents were Beili Zhen and Dongfang Yu. Yi Fei looked at Beili Zhen, who was surrounded by many people in the distance. Beili Zhen also saw Yi Fei, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He was about to walk out of the room with big strides. Many martial artists near the palace suddenly shouted excitedly, "They're out! The Emperor and the mentors of the Saint Institute are out together!" When Beili Zhen heard this, he immediately ignored Yi Fei and strode to the front, trying to leave a good impression on the mentors of the Four Saint Institute. Mentors of the Saint Institute? Are the mentors of the Saint Institute presiding over the Earth Roll examination this time? Yi Fei looked at the restless crowd in surprise. Jiang Qing smiled and said, "That's not the case. The Saint Institute has a tradition. Once a special bloodline is discovered, a mentor will come to receive it. They're here for Beili Zhen. Of course, with Brother Ye's talent, the Saint Institute will definitely value you." After saying this, Jiang Qing and the martial artists of the Royal Wind City knelt down together. Xia Jun hesitated for a moment, but also knelt down. After all, when the Emperor came out, his subjects had to kneel down. This represented the dignity of the royal family, and no one dared to go against it. Greetings to the Emperor! Long live the Emperor! Long live the Emperor! Inside and outside the palace, 70 to 80,000 young martial artists knelt down at the same time. It was a spectacular scene. Only 2 people stood out among the crowd, and they were still standing. This instantly attracted the attention of the mentors of the Four Saint Institute. Beilijin's eyes were cold and arrogant. He met the gazes of the 4 mentors without any fear, even though they were all half-martial emperors. Yi Fei's gaze was also very calm. He had already seen martial emperors, not to mention half-martial emperors. What was there to be afraid of? The 4 mentors all had the symbol of their respective Saint Institute. The Heavenly Tao Sacred Institute's mentor was a middle-aged man wearing battle armor. He carried a heavy sword on his back, and he looked imposing without being angry. The Heavenly Book Sacred Institute's mentor was a stern middle-aged woman. She wore a magic robe and her expression was rigid. Even if she didn't say a word, everyone could feel her strictness. However, the strongest one was still the Divine Martial Sacred Institute's mentor. He was a man with an imposing aura. His gaze was as sharp as a knife, and he looked at everyone with a scrutinizing gaze. The mentors of the Heavenly Tao Sacred Institute and the Heavenly Book Sacred Institute were slightly behind him to show their respect. On the other hand, the true Martial Sacred Institute's mentor surprised everyone. Unexpectedly, she was a very young and beautiful female mentor. Her chi was like an orchid in a secluded valley. She gave off an amiable feeling, but for some unknown reason, she looked a little worried. The other 3 mentors didn't say anything to her on the way, as if they didn't want to see her. After everyone had greeted each other, the Snow Wind Emperor didn't let them stand up. He made them kneel outside. At the same time, he pointed at Beilijin and Yi Fei and introduced them to the 4 mentors. Everyone, this is Beilijin, a genius of the Snow Wind Empire who has a special bloodline. Even Dongfang Yu would have to use his full strength to defeat him. The Snow Wind Sovereign smiled. He had paid a huge price to invite Dongfang Yu over. It was all for the sake of creating momentum and letting the 4 great saint courtyards know how powerful the Snow Wind Empire's special bloodline was. When they heard that Beilijin was able to force the young emperor to use his full strength, the mentors of the 4 Saint Institutes looked at Beilijin with interest. Not bad, not bad. The demonic flame bloodline is a mid-tier bloodline among the special bloodlines. If he is nurtured well, Beilijin will become a powerful martial emperor in the future. The Heavenly Tao Sacred Institute's mentor commented. Unfortunately, he won't be able to receive a punch from Dongfang Yu. The most important thing for a cultivator is talent. Talent is innate, everything else can be made up for. If he wants to join the Divine Martial Sacred Institute, he will have to work hard. The Divine Martial Sacred Institute's mentor commented. He is a good seedling. His demonic flame bloodline is very suitable for a secret technique of the Heavenly Book Sacred Institute. The Heavenly Book Sacred Institute's mentor revealed a rare smile. When the true Martial Sacred Institute's mentor saw that the other 3 Saint Institutes were trying to snatch Beilijin, she suddenly sighed and lowered her head. She was too lazy to comment on Beilijin. The Snow Wind Emperor didn't mind. After all, the 3 mentors had acknowledged Beilijin's talent. The Snow Wind Empire could hold its head high. Chapter 972. A Single Log Bridge, Oh Yi Fei? The mentors' interest was piqued. They had already noticed the black-clothed youth who was standing, just like Beilijin. It was just that Beilijin's radiance was too dazzling. The first thing they noticed was a special genius like Beilijin. The mentors of the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy glanced at Yi Fei. Yi Fei seemed to have sensed it and looked over as well. Good sword. Yi Fei instantly sensed how extraordinary this teacher's heavy sword was. What was even more mysterious was that after hearing Yi Fei's praise, the heavy sword on the teacher's back actually hummed as though it was filled with joy at Yi Fei's praise. The teacher from the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy was instantly given a fright. He can actually trigger my heavy sword? Could it be that this brat has already grasped the sword heart? What? Sword heart? Impossible. Yi Fei doesn't have any special bloodline in his body. How can he be compared to Bailey Zhen? The mentor of the Divine Martial Academy snorted coldly. Among the 4 great academies, the Heavenly Strategy Academy focused on opportunities, the Heavenly Tao focused on comprehension, and the Divine Martial Academy focused on aptitude. Aptitude determined everything. Without aptitude, all the hard work would be in vain. Therefore, the Divine Martial Sacred Academy prioritized those with outstanding talent. Seeing that Yi Fei, who didn't even have a special bloodline, had been boasted by the Snow Wind Emperor that he could compete with Bailey Zhen, the instructors of the Divine Martial Sacred Academy were displeased. Guys, don't underestimate Yi Fei. Look carefully. Although Yi Fei doesn't have any special bloodline, he can fight someone 5 levels higher than him. Most importantly, the King of Fighters, Dongfang Yu, said that Yi Fei could take a punch from him with all his strength. Jiang Qianren said again, reminding the instructors by the way. The 4 of them revealed shocked expressions at the same time. For Dongfang Yu to say this, could it be that this Yi Fei was really extraordinary? The Heavenly Book Sacred Academy's teacher's eyes lit up. He was the first to notice Yi Fei's difference. 10 primordial spirit. This brat actually cultivated 10 primordial spirits at the same time. Good. This brat is quite lucky to enter my Heavenly Book Sacred Academy. Humph. Since he can cultivate 10 primordial spirits, it proves that he has extraordinary aptitude. He can also enter the Divine Martial Sacred Academy, which is the strongest academy in the Divine Martial Sacred Academy, so he won't be buried. Hearing that Yi Fei had 10 primordial spirits, the teachers of the Divine Martial Sacred Academy immediately changed their attitude. 10 primordial spirits? The eyes of the mentors of the real Martial Sacred Academy who didn't speak also lit up. But before this beautiful mentor could speak to snatch it, a cold snort rang out from the mouth of the teacher of the Sacred Academy. Humph, all of you, stop arguing. Have you not noticed that Yi Fei's path is the Sword Tao? Since he understands the Sword Heart, cultivating the Heavenly Tao Sword Canon is his best choice. Otherwise, the Heavenly Law Sword Codex is not the strongest Sword Tao. He and Bailey Zhen should both join my Shenwu Sacred Academy so that they won't bury their talent. The man from the Shenwu Sacred Academy is very domineering. As soon as he opened his mouth, he wanted to take away all of them. This time, even the beautiful teacher revealed an angry expression. Snow Wind Emperor Jiang Qianren was pleased with the quarrel between the mentors of the 4 Divine Martial Academies. After all, the fiercer the quarrel between the 4 Divine Martial Academies, the more extraordinary the martial artists of the Snow Wind Empire were. This was also a way to promote the prestige of the empire. Jiang Qianren wanted them to quarrel as fiercely as possible. Get up! You are the elites of the empire. The Heaven and Earth Supreme List is the best stage for you to train yourselves. Don't let me down. Open the Earth Board. The 4 mentors quarreled in the distance. Jiang Qianren waved his hand and a huge small world light gate appeared in the sky above the Imperial Palace. Only now did Yi Fei know that the Earth ranking examination this time was actually being held in a small world. The Central Plains empires were truly extravagant. Brother Jiang, let's go. Yi Fei and Jiang Qing looked at each other and led a large group of experts from the Royal Wind City into the small world. The other royal cities did the same. Soon, the 70,000 to 80,000 martial artists in the square of the Imperial Palace had all disappeared. Then, countless crystal walls rose from the ground, revealing the situation inside the small world. All the civil and military officials, including Jiang Qianren, held their breaths and watched the Earth Board assessment with rapt attention. Who do you think will get first place on the Earth Board? Will it be Bailey Zhen or Yi Fei? I think it will be Yi Fei. Bailey Zhen couldn't take a punch from Dongfang Yu, but Yi Fei said that he could. So Yi Fei should be stronger than Bailey Zhen. What a joke. Did we see him make a move? Maybe he was just bluffing. Dongfang Yu gave the emperor face and didn't expose him. He was just flattering him. We still don't know who will win. After all, Yi Fei hadn't fought with Dongfang Yu personally. Not only did many civil and military officials have doubts about Yi Fei's strength, but even the mentors of the 4 sacred academies had doubts about Yi Fei's strength. If Yi Fei can really fight to a draw with Bailey Zhen, it won't be a problem for him to join the Divine Martial Sacred Academy. Even if he's a little bit weaker, with his understanding of the sword Dao, it's more suitable for him to cultivate the Heavenly Law Sword Canon. The Heavenly Law Sacred Academy has many secret techniques that consume a lot of true yuan. If he has 10 primordial spirits, he can cultivate them. Sigh. The beautiful mentor's eyes dimmed. She didn't have much hope in recruiting Bailey Zhen and Yi Fei. The true Martial Sacred Academy was no longer the same as before. It was too difficult to attract super geniuses. Sister, don't worry. Even if Big Brother doesn't want to join the true Martial Sacred Academy, I, Xia Jun, will definitely join. After rushing into the small world, Xia Jun cheered up and waved his arms as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Many martial artists looked at him with sidelong glances. Brother Xia Yu, Jiang Qing and the others were shocked speechless. After all, the great emperor and the mentors of the 4 sacred academies were watching outside. Yi Fei's face darkened. He really wanted to kick Xia Jun away. No one will think you're mute if you don't talk. It's so embarrassing to have such a follower. Then, Yi Fei noticed a huge arena in the distance. He knew that was the place of the Earth Board examination. However, to get to the arena, they had to cross a single plank bridge. At this moment, the 70 to 80,000 young martial artists were all staring at the single plank bridge. However, no one dared to take the lead. Instead, some of them stared at Bailey Zhen, while the others stared at Yi Fei. Jiang Qing explained, Brother Yi, this is the first stage of the Earth Board examination, the single plank bridge. If we rush over, we can enter the arena. However, the single plank bridge can only carry 10,000 people. If there are more than 10,000 people, it will break on its own. Doesn't that mean that 90% of the 70 to 80,000 martial artists here will be eliminated in the first stage? Yi Fei and Xia Jun were both surprised. Jiang Qing smiled and said, It's not absolute. As the top prodigies of the imperial capital, you and the 5 great prodigies have the right to cross the bridge first. This is a form of respect for the super geniuses. Moreover, you can bring people over. As long as it doesn't exceed 10 people, the others can accept it. We can bring people. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.